We are paid, that's all. We are God.
Hey guys! Here is part 6 of What If Naruto was the reincarnation of Link, hero of Twilight. Centuries ago, Link saved the world from Ganondorf. But now, Link's reincarnation will do the same task. Watch as he now struggles to become a hero guided by the Triforce. And of course, he has Midna by his side to help him. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and check the author in the description. Let's start. Chapter 22. Naruto sighed. He had packed into his drawer the one hat he had which held the green plate that holds Konoha's symbol. Even if Kururi had sent a letter, Naruto was still punished, and was on 3 months probation for his little stunt, plus a fine of 3,000 ryo. The council thought there was going to be war, and a few Naruto haters still existing wanted Naruto to be executed. However, the Raikage simply sent a letter 3 days ago that since Uzumaki Naruto had saved one of his own ninja from an unknown enemy, they were in his debt. Yujito was the one who delivered the letter, and had thanked Naruto for saving her, and setting her free from the cursed life she had lived through since birth. Naruto's ladies surely did not like the boy's brash heroic actions, and had given him a verbal bashing, but in the end, things had subsequently returned to normal. Temari still does not know of what had occurred. So, for the next 3 months, Naruto had nothing better to do. Tenten had a mission. Kin was on a mission with Team 7 and Hinata filled his spot. Temari was in Suna still. Midna was currently reading and he didn't wish to disturb her. That only left one thing for him. He got up, got packed as usual, and headed out the back door with the tackle box and fishing pole. He wasn't even supposed to leave the village, but right now, he wanted to get out of here. So, he snuck out of the village, and as quietly and quickly as possible, headed towards Hina's place, unaware that Nico had caught him leaving from her hidden spot. Naruto snuck out of the village carrying a tackle box and a fishing pole. Lady Hokage, Nico reported to Tsunade. Oh great, she muttered, can't Naruto understand he's grounded and can't leave the village? Half an hour of travel, and Naruto made it to Konoha Lake, crossing the bridge that spanned across the river. He then entered the shack, as the jingling bell alerted Hina from her reading. A smile beamed across her face. Naruto-kun. Hina ran from behind the counter and hugged the blonde. Naruto smiled back. Hello Hina-chan. Hina had heard about it when she last visited the village about Naruto's almost suicidal stunt, but where many thought his actions were brash, she saw him as a true character of a hero. Though, she herself did wish Naruto would not do any dangerous stunts ever again. Can I buy some bait? Of course, Naruto. On a Sunday, things were a bit slow. But, Naruto was there, so Hina wouldn't feel too alone. You know what, why don't I join you too, HM? The more the merrier, Naruto replied with a grin. She giggled. Great. Let me grab my things and we'll use the boat. 20 minutes later, the couple had their lines cast in the center of the lake, near a small rock island with a bonsai tree growing on this rock-like island. It was quiet. The nature was great, the sounds, the smell. They did talk somewhat, but for most of their time fishing, they had been quiet. They only caught some fish, but not many of them were actual keepers. Those too small were released back into the lake. The only fish worth keeping were 3 large carp, around 26 to 34 pounds. What time is it? Naruto asked Hina. Close to 6:30, she replied. Naruto cursed, which got her attention. I forgot that Sundays, the village closes their gates early. Oh, well, crash at my apartment tonight then, Hina tell the blonde. Naruto turned his head around to look at her. You sure? It does. Sound weird that a girl like me is asking a guy to stay at her place? Trust me, it'll be fine, Naruto-kun. Naruto then shrugged. If you're okay by it, let's head back to shore and start gutting the fish. We can have some steamed fish and rice. That sounds nice, she said, and grabbed the oar. Naruto grabbed his, and with the poles placed beside them, soon returned to the shore, where Naruto and she had brought their catch and items into the house, and the boat brought and locked into the shed. Naruto followed the girl to where the fish are usually cut and fillet and such as, before the waste is recycled for the birds to snack on. Now, inside the upstairs apartment, Naruto had measured the rice and put it in the rice cooker just as Hina headed up the stairs and shut the door behind her. She had just closed the shop. Did you put the rice in the cooker? Yup, and I have the pans for the steam cooking too, Naruto said, having gotten 2 fry pans. One was like any other pan, but the one that went on top of it had a mesh of holes in it, lid included. Naruto had filled the bottom pan with some water, laid the fish he had prepared with the spices, scales had been removed best as possible, before putting the lid on top. Now, all there was to do is wait for dinner. So, Naruto, having taken off his sword, shield, boots, and hat, sat down in the recliner, and laid back in it. Hina sat in the couch near his, the television set on and showing some sort of Western anime program. So, you owe Kyomogakure a debt of gratitude because you had bravely rescued one of their ninja, risking your life? Yeah. So, what did happen, really? After getting back, I got probation because of my stunt, not really supposed to leave, but no one was home, so I came to visit you. What about your friends? Busy, and the girls, they somewhat stopped talking to me because they were still mad I did something that was foolish. Hina nodded softly. However, Hina never thought that she would get frequent visits from Naruto in the following months. You see, while forgiven, he was still on the edged side with the girls. The one proof was when he had found out the rooms in his apartment had been cleared out. It was just him living all alone, just like during his Kyuubi-induced early childhood, other than Midna who remained with him through thick and thin. They had been ignoring him somewhat whenever he would ask any of his girls why they had left his apartment, and it stung. One night, there was a storm that came through the area, and Naruto had woken up from a bad dream, scaring Midna as well from his sudden cry. Naruto got up and ran through the house checking on the girls, when he remembered they had moved out and returned back to their own homes. Naruto felt lonely. If it wasn't for Midna, the chibified princess remained next to him, as Naruto had cried himself to sleep. He missed the girls. One day, on the 3rd day of the final month of Naruto's probation, Temari returned to the village hoping to see Naruto again, only to find that the door was locked, and there was a note tacked to the door with a kunai. Until further notice, I have moved in with Hina. Naruto. Naruto placed his glass into the sink after he had downed the glass of milk he poured for himself. The time was an hour past noon, and Naruto returned downstairs. Today was particularly busy, and Naruto had helped Hina around the shop. She felt grateful for his help, especially since Naruto asked if he could stay at her place for a while due to certain things not going well back at his village. She allowed him to stay for as long as he wished. Hold on, ma'am, Hina called out to a customer who required her attention. Too many people wanting to swim at the lake due to today's hot temperature. And Naruto, she spied, returning to the register to ring up the purchases of various people. Glad I taught him how to work the register, she thought with relief, as she helped a woman find the right size of top for her assets. After the traffic rush, things were quiet in the shop once again, and Naruto was exhausted. I'm taking my break, Naruto told Hina. Sure Naruto-kun, she replied. She was going to take her own break as well, as she flipped the sign from open to closed, and then placed the time card to say whenever I'm not lazy, we'll open. She then followed Naruto up the stairs, a wicked smile on the fishing girl's face. Hinata, Tenten, Kin, and Temari followed after Kakashi and Kurenai, the 2 jounin on this trip to the lake. Ever since Temari discovered this letter, she had freaked out, and shown it first to Tsunade, before Temari was told of what had happened while she was back in Suna. The girls felt guilty that they didn't tell Naruto their reasoning for moving back to their original homes, but now they felt that they may have hurt Naruto's feelings, which was why he was out of the village, living with someone else. Oh Naruto-kun, please forgive me, Hinata thought. Please forgive me, Naruto-kun, Tenten and Kin thought. Then, they heard faint sounds in the distance as they reached the clearing that showed the lake. Was that music? It was. There was some sort of party going on here today. That was a lot of people they see crowding the beaches of the lake. Let's go, Kakashi spoke up, taking his eyes eventually, punched in the head by Kurenai, off the women wearing such stylish, and by stylish I mean sexy, bikinis. They followed the perverted jounin as they reached the shack, only to see the sign, closed. Upstairs, Hina's wicked idea involved cornering Naruto, and then asking for a neck massage. However, in the 5 minutes of the massage, Hina tilted her head back enough to kiss the blonde. From there, it descended into a make-out session between the two, some clothes ruffled. Hina's shirt had become unbuttoned, while the top and undershirt of Naruto's outfit ended up on the floor. Naruto moved away from her lips, only to kiss a small spot on her neck, and leave his mark on her. She moaned softly when he did. Then, there was the faint sound of someone knocking on the door. The two looked at one another from the couch, her on top of him, before they got up. Heading downstairs, Hina buttoning her shirt back up, they saw people at the door. She went towards the door while Naruto sat back down on his stool behind the register. She flipped the sign and unlocked the door again. "Hello? How may I help you?" she asks, swinging the wood frame door open, before unlocking the screen door to allow entry. A few other children pushed and shoved behind the Konoha ninja, all chanting for ice cream. Naruto banged his head on the counter and groaned. Sorry about that," she apologized, before recognizing the silver scarecrow-like hair. "Wait, I remember you. Kakashi." I smiled. "That's wonderful, may we come in?" "Sure, but be careful." They did listen, children on a sugar high are dangerous after all. "Hina-chan, a little help here," Naruto shouted. Hina giggled nervously, and ran to help him with the purchases these kids were making. And there they stood in the background, as children as young as 6 to 10 helped themselves to ice cream of all kinds, and leaving once they had bought their purchases. So, round up to roughly 15 minutes later the storm had passed, but the shop made some more money in the end on this busy day. "So, how much did we rack up?" "Rough estimate of 100 some Rio." She smiled brightly. Kakashi cleared his throat and both teens looked up. Naruto's face turned into a bit of a dark look, and Hina blinked twice. "Naruto-kun." Hina then looked at Naruto, who slightly turned away. She then realized who these girls were. "Naruto-kun, Hina. I don't know why they're here, except possibly believing they're here to take me back to the village since I moved here 2 months ago. Naruto, you were on probation, and that made you a temporary civilian. In fact, you're not supposed to be armed with your sword and shield." "Well, he has to be, he's the next hero of time," Midna said, popping up, and freaking out Hina. "Hina-chan, sweetie, listen, she's not dangerous, okay, let me explain." "I see." A full discussion and Hina now understood truly. She hugged him. "Why such kind souls like yours go through so much pain?" "Have no clue," he replied softly. "I guess that would explain our ancestors having met in the past, we're destined to meet." Naruto merely nodded. "Naruto, we didn't think you'd be so hurt. I mean, we were going to talk to you again, but seemed like a pretty harsh punishment to me then." Naruto spat out angrily, "ignoring me when I needed to speak to you. All I had left was Midna, and now Hina. You technically brought this upon yourself, Naruto," Kakashi told the blonde. "What would you have done then? If you found out Lansing had a potential threat and morphed it into his own weapon? You'd just kill her and move on. At least when I fought Yujito, I saved her life and freed her from the life of a Jinchuriki, even if it did leave the bijou in his hands at the end. I bet you would have just shoved your lightning bolt of a hand right through her heart, like you did to Haku." Kakashi flinched. "You'd have just killed Yujito all because she was from a different village, because she was once a Jinchuriki. Right now, I wouldn't be surprised if you had once tried to kill me when I was very little." He untangled himself from Hina's arms and walked up the stairs, pissed off. Midna followed him, squeezing past the door as the Konoha ninja heard the door slam shut loudly. Kakashi closed his eyes. The sad, horrible truth was, Naruto was right. He had tried to kill the demon boy when Naruto was just 3 years old, using a Chidori to end the boy's life. But then after he did, he had felt immensely guilty, and alcohol was part of the blame because he drank himself to a stupor when memories of his sensei, Obito, and Rin came to mind. "I would appreciate it if you kindly leave my store," Hina tells the ninja calmly. Too calm by the sound of her voice. She was trying hard not to leap over and hit the guy with silver hair with her stool right now. Kakashi let out a depressed sigh and shunshin away. Kurenai turned to the girls. "Let's return back to Konoha." Hinata, Kin, and Tenten felt guilty, but they followed after Kurenai-sensei, and Temari followed behind the kunoichi. 8 o'clock later that evening, and the door opened. Naruto's girls had moved back in the house. However, Naruto had water, sewage, and electricity turned off at the residence. So basically, a guilt-ridden Hinata, Kin, and Tenten walked into a cold house with nothing in the house working, followed by Temari. For that night, they had all slept in Naruto's room, in his bed that easily fit the 4 ladies. With Naruto, once again he fell asleep in the recliner of Hina's apartment, while the girl herself wished Naruto would for one night sleep in her bed with her. Of course, she did go to sleep eventually. And for Midna, the Chibified princess wished that she would stay with Naruto forever. Chapter 23. Epona whinnies as she jumped over a fallen tree. Hina laughed as she held on to Naruto. Wow! This is so much fun! She yelled. Naruto grinned. It has been a week since the shop had closed. The reason was Hina wished to visit Liz, but didn't like to travel alone, so Naruto used the whistle to call Epona. In less than 5 minutes, the mare emerged from the trees, and once they were packed, left Konoha Lake. They had been traveling for the week towards the border to the country of the rivers. Soon, they emerged in the somewhat wet lands of river country. This way Naruto-kun, Hina tells Naruto, looking at the map. He turned in the direction she pointed at and traveled down the trail. It soon led them to one of the flowing large rivers of the country. Built near the edge was a house that acted as a sort of dam. A construction of metal and wood. Waiting for them outside was a tall young woman. She looked like a nimble fighter in Naruto's mind, and like Kikoru, she wore her dark hair in an afro. She wore farmer's overalls, sandals, and a V-neck light blue tee. Liz! Hina called, as Epona slowed to a trot. Ah, so, this is the boy you're dating, huh? Liz walked over as Naruto boarded off Epona, and shook his hand. I'm Liz. I'm the oldest sibling. Nice to meet you, said Naruto. Liz, leave him alone, said Hina, as she grabbed her stuff stored in a scroll. So, is he a mercenary? Looks a bit too young to be one. He's a ninja, believe it or not. Really? Liz questions. He did something that was frowned upon by Konohagakure no Sato, that they put him on a 3-month probation. He has a month left before he's allowed to resume duty as a genin. He reminds me of those ninjas who dress in their own ways off to the far west. Hina smiled, anchoring onto the blonde's arm. He's better wearing the tunic. Remember that old photo I have in my book? Liz blinked, and then blinked again. Ah, I see, now that you say it, he does look like that guy, only your blonde has sun-kissed yellow. So, is this your horse? Not originally. She was a gift from the fire daimyo. Her name is Epona. Epona nickered. Ah, I got some carrots if she likes em. She'll eat anything, though she's fond of apples. Epona nudges her head against Naruto, causing him to chuckle a bit. Well, come on in. The rivers are always flowing and it's what gives my place electricity. Though I hate it when the winter months come up. Yeah, that way she has to pay to get electricity pumped to her house from a village somewhere. Quiet you, Liz said. Naruto just kept smiling. The lake was empty, and it allowed nature to frolic the beaches and near the forests. Of course, a certain group of Genin and Chunnin were looking at the note posted on the bulletin board outside Hina's fishing shack. Hinata turned around after reading the note herself. She wanted Naruto, then she saw someone sitting on a lawn chair on the dock, fishing. She recognizes the afro hairstyle the guy sported. Is that Kikoru-san? She walked over, not noticing that the others looked at the Hyuga. Oh no. Kikoru-san. Kikoru looked to his right and then beamed a smile. Ah, girl, hi. I'm surprised you remembered me. Yeah, you sold us that lantern. Kikoru smiled. That's nice. How is it? Naruto uses it when it's needed. It helped us get through that dark forest. I'm glad. I decided to come here to visit my sister, but it appeared that she'd gone to visit our older sister Liz in Kawa. I did hear that she was dating a wonderful guy though. I was hoping to meet him. Oh well, the guy had such a carefree attitude, you couldn't help but smile. Oh, that's nice. Well, my friends need to go. We were hoping to see Naruto here, but he's gone. Bye now, goodbye friend. And Kikoru returned to fishing. Hinata walked away, and she felt everyone else follow her. Who was he? Kin asks. Hina's brother, Kikoru. He sold Naruto-kun a lantern. With the note on that board, Naruto is in Kawa, troublesome, Shikamaru said. Wouldn't he get in more trouble for leaving like that? He's still on probation. The note they read said the following. Konnichiwa. We're sorry but Hina's fishing shack is closed until further notice. I and my part-time employer/boyfriend Naruto have gone to visit family in Kawa no Kuni, Hina, and Naruto. P.S. Do not pollute the lake and the surrounding environment. It's unhealthy and it pretty much pisses us off. Please discard your trash and other unmentionables in the right labeled dumpster bins near the fences. If a Konoha shinobi is reading this, Hina's fishing shack requests a D-rank mission for 3 genin teams with small pay. Details: clean the trash around the lake, and the bins by the fences. Bins are to be cleaned completely and scrubbed down inside and outside if you wish to do so. Pay is 200 Ryo per genin and 500 Ryo for the participating Jounin sensei of assigned genin team, Naruto, and Hina. Shikamaru was the one who made a copy of that message note, and have handed it over to Tsunade when they had returned to the village. Tsunade sighed. Naruto was in Kawa no Kuni, with that girl who 2 weeks ago calmly kicked her ninja out, whom went to grab Naruto to return him to the village. There was a buy of a fight, and it did not take a genius to see that the girls who Naruto were mostly with had gone into a bit of a depression. Still, a mission is a mission, so she wrote up the contract and just got an idea. Shizun, get me these people in my office now. Shizun nodded and left, looking on the slip of paper she was given. Taunton suddenly passed gas, which sounded disgustingly wet. And get this pig out of here. She ran to open the window. Damn! We feed it healthy food and yet it smells horribly. In Kawa no Kuni, Naruto was relaxing comfortably. He had shown Liz what he knew so far with his swordsman skills. He was not by all means an expert, but he knew enough to keep himself up in guard, and attack at the right moment. Suddenly his eyes are jolted open when Hina jumped into his lap, giggling. Whatcha thinking of, Naruto-kun? Oh, nothing much, really, he responded, smiling. Hina smiled and leaned close. Really, or was that a lie? Naruto pecked her on the lips. Dunno, tell me, he sighed. Wondering what my friends are doing. I'm pretty sure they're disappointed I'm not even in high anymore. Still beating yourself up on that? Not as much, no. I just wish they didn't have to hurt my feelings that way. They knew what my childhood was before the Kyuubi was ripped right out of my body, they should have known better. They'll change. Naruto nodded gently. Hope so. Naruto leaned back, and Hina just curled up in his arms. Naruto hiked back up the mountain trail, after trying out that little game she charges random passerbys. Needless to say, it was fun, canoeing down the river, while trying to launch a given supply of arrows. The trek was wonderful for Naruto due to exercise. Although, there was this minor incident of a lonely bandit mugging him, trying to is the keyword. Naruto had simply kicked him in the jaw and continued on. And then, his luck began to change yet again, and it started with a sudden drop into darkness, and the fading cry of Hina at the halfway point of the path to Liz's place. Naruto groaned, as he awoke some time later. He had no clue how long he had been knocked out, but he looked around, dragging out his lantern. He wished he never did. Corpses, mummified corpses. There were also some bones littering the ground, and a few rats that still managed to survive here. All of a sudden he heard skittering like noises, before he saw a few of the bodies twitch, and then begin to get up and attack Naruto. He swore as he clipped the lantern to his belt while attacking with the sword. After the last mummy had been killed, he heard the whoosh of flames, and the area is lit up. He was somewhere he should not be in, but he was trapped here somehow, but something was telling him that there was an evil in this area that needs to be destroyed. Never would have thought I'd stumble upon a hidden underground laboratory or some bull like this. The underground chambers. Naruto would not have known until later, but he had stumbled upon one of Orochimaru's long-abandoned hidden bases used for his mutation and human experimentations. He had summoned Gamakichi and Gamatatsu and told them to inform Ero Sennin that he had gone on a weekly trip with Hina to visit her sister Liz, only to find some sort of abandoned chamber filled with corpses. Due to the way the area had been sealed, decomposition has lessened to a mummification effect instead of a rotting effect. It was cool in here, but there was also that dark chill of immediate danger in the air. Being brave though, Naruto did not deter. He continued onward after the two toads had returned, saying they had delivered the message to Ero Sennin. So, it was Naruto, Midna in his shadow, and the two toads riding on each of the blonde's shoulder, going through the hallway, heading downstairs carved into the hard earth. Reaching the bottom, he opened the door, and found himself inside another underground chamber. But the torches were all lit, and there were dangerous auras littering the area now. Naruto could feel the evil that pulsed in here. Especially the giant mutant spiders that looked like they had been successfully bred with scorpions came at him, hissing and spitting a yellow stream of webbing from the fanged mouth that was its stinger coming from the skull-shaped bulbous body. Naruto jumped, and retaliated with the Master Sword. The creature hissed as Naruto stabbed it again for good measure. To his surprise, it exploded into ash and dust that evaporated away. Okay, now something is definitely up here. He looked around. The chamber was a fusion of hard earth and metal. Torches gave the light in the area. Down below was a dangerous-looking purple fog, and he could see water. The floor he was on is a bridge-wide walkway suspended by pillars underneath and by chains from the ceilings connected to the railings that was the height of the average adult's waistline. Corpses littered the large platform in front, which after he walked onto it, a sudden barrier surrounded, preventing escape. Twilight parasites emerged from the twilight and all burrowed into the mouths of the corpses. The rotting mummy-like enemies were now reanimated, and they attacked Naruto with clumsy abandonment. There were a total of 9 mummies wanting to devour his flesh. That was not going to happen. Naruto pulled out the Sword of Evil's Bane, and sliced the first mummy, crippling it before slashing at the head, also killing the bug. He kept attacking, backing away and pushing them back with a shield attack, until the last mummy collapsed and the bug was sliced to dust. The barrier of energy that sprung up dissipated. You know what, on second thought, you two can return back. Don't need your dad trying to kill me cause you two got hurt, if you're sure boss, but don't hesitate to call us. I just don't like that chill hanging in the air. 2 poofs of smoke and the 2 childlike toads are gone. Midna emerged now that the coast was clear, and followed Naruto as he ran, and jumped a gap to another octagonal platform suspended by thick chains. Little do they know, that the further they traveled in, the more evil they would encounter. Chapter 24. They had been traveling through these maze-like hallways for what seemed like an hour, as corpses of bones sprung up to attack, or twilight parasites infested rotting bodies preserved in this underground catacomb to attack. The door closed with a silent hiss, as Naruto and Midna looked around in the room they were now in. Various tubes filled with water, creatures of both human and animal origin, but now resembled nightmarish mutants. Many of these people were once human, but were left for dead. Most of the machines have been dead, or ceased to function. The rest of the machines surprisingly still had life running through them. Oh man, something is wrong here. I know. The lightning in this room came from the glowing water these things were suspended within and from the very few machines still active in the mess hall of a laboratory. So, they went through this hallway of chimeras. They jumped when they came across a tube that contained one of these mutants, but most of them were just empty. Soon, they came across another section of the laboratory, filled with several bodies floating in the water. Further the two went, always keeping their eyes open for any sort of ambush. They finally reached the end of the laboratory, which led into several hallways, but at the end of this one was something that could be of use. Naruto obtained key 1337. This is the key that was needed to manually open the door to access the other laboratory chamber. But there was a problem. Having no choice but to destroy the generator that supplied power to this section of the laboratory and gave the glass its shatterproof durability, upon collecting the key, they heard the sounds of glass shattering. Both Naruto and Midna looked at one another. Something shattering in the dim darkness was never a good sign. Naruto pulled out his lantern and Midna held onto it as she floated next to Naruto. They traversed through the darkness of the large corridors, until they reached the first room filled with shattered tubes. Only one tube was left standing, but had a claw mark across the glass. It was though empty, but filled with the same glowing liquid that spilt over the metal floor and mess of wires and cables and whatnot. Suddenly, one of the chimera-like beasts jumped from the darkness ahead and attacked, followed by the cries of 2 more of those mutants. Naruto swore and swung the blade, slicing the unholy beast with the blade that destroys evil. This would count in this situation, as it fell immediately from the burning death of a holy blade touching a tainted creature. The other 2 humans mutated with animal parts rushed, but they too fell to their deaths. We're not sticking around. Just then, the lantern ran out of juice, and darkness enveloped the 2. Damn it, Naruto cursed. Hold on Naruto. She pulled out something. It was the crystal Lansing had used on Yujito. Wait, is that the... Yup. Now. I'm taking a huge gamble here, but if I'm right, and I know I am, then we can transform you into a beast form, more so like a fox. Naruto began to think about it, but with dim lighting, he can't see well. Animals do have better sighting in nocturnal environments, or was he thinking of a cat or a dog? Anyway, he decided to bite the hook. Naruto felt weird, as a foreign energy assaulted his senses, and made him cry out in pain. He suddenly howled much like a fox, and felt a weight on him. Midna giggled, as the transformation had left Naruto in the state of a fox, and now, she had a place to sit again. Just like old times with Wolf Link. Fox Naruto looked like any other fox out there, only with the tip of the tail black, the paws black, blonde fur, and white belly. His eyes still remained the same shade of cerulean blue. Midna noticed that similar fur-like markings that existed on Wolf Link matched on Fox Naruto, only they were orange. Well, that wasn't so bad. This is weird, Naruto said, feeling his new furry appendage twitch. Another growl permeated the dark air. Of course, since he was now in an animal shape, he could only do growls, yips, or barks. You know, the usual fox noise. Midna however completely understood Naruto, though the contrast with Link and Naruto is Link's fur was dark, and Naruto's is light. Now Naruto, this may be weird, but Link had an animal form as well, only he was a wolf. You may not have the packing power as a wolf would, but you're just as nimble and agile. Swift attacks can take any creature out. Now, focus on your senses Naruto, alright? Keep your ears ready, and stay focused on surviving. Once we reach that door, we can hopefully find a way out of here. Naruto nodded, and headed off, using his enhanced eyesight to see better in the darkness. Oh, and we're going to work on a nifty technique Link and I had used against multiple enemies. Okay. Sure, Naruto replied and jumped back as something sailed at him. It looked like the tail of a beaver on a snake's tail having nearly smacked him. He growled fox-like, but the chimera-like human snarls and attacks him. Naruto jumped away and came at him, as Midna used her magic to fire a bolt of Twilight, striking it against the spine. Naruto, I'll raise the energy field, and I'll zap them. Afterward, I'll envelope you with an aura of Twilight and you can use it to one-hit kill anything that gets in our way, okay? Got it. Just in time too, as she zapped several more of these things that began to gang up. She releases the field, and Naruto zipped about, striking every single chimera-like mutant. Each one fell to their death as Naruto landed on all four. The fox rushed off, backtracking, and with each encounter they took out more. But some of them possessed the weird technique of melting into objects, think Zetsu in this case, or in this case, popping out to ambush the duo. Soon, they did make it back into the first expansive chamber of tubes, but more of them were there. Naruto zipped across, dodging as Midna flew to the door they had spied earlier, and with the key, opened it. She flew in and Naruto followed just as the door seals shut and locks. Naruto transformed back to normal, with Midna's help. He even had his weapons again. Damn, that was like some sort of horror film. The wall swirled as those who possessed the ability to melt into solid objects came at Naruto. He attacked them, and killed those that could cross over. The room they were in was like a giant cube. However, the room held a suspended floor welded to the walls, enforced with iron-angled pillars, and chains from the ceilings. Below was murky water, the kind of water Naruto did not feel like swimming in. The water suddenly boiled as coming up was a sea dragon-like creature. However, from its serpent-like body, the hood around its head was several wiggling tentacles. On its forehead was an encrusted large jewel. Along its snake-like body were armor attachments, plated metal segments like large fish scales. It had fish fins lining along the sides of the body, and along the back of the skull doing down 3 meters of the spinal area. The mouth of the snake was attached with a bulldog-like jawline, and it had thick fat jiggling down the sides. It let out what sounded like gargling, mixed with the growl of a human male with thick swaying jowls, and attacked with its 13 tentacles. However, there was something very wrong with this creature. It was rotting, as murky greenish-yellow smoke rose from its body. Naruto raised an eyebrow, but the dying creature dove at him. Naruto simply swung, and sliced. The thing gave its death cry, as the crystal on its beheaded head exploded, revealing a Twilight parasite. It dropped before his feet as the giant dead serpent slumped back into the water. Not allowing it to get away, he stabbed it with the sword. The grapefruit-sized bug shriveled as he pulled the blade away, and it exploded, revealing a chakra grapple. The rest of the body disintegrated like sludge. Is that another chakra grapple? I think so, Midna replied, having appeared next to the boy. The thing wasn't that tough, could be like some sort of failed experiment. Naruto obtained a second chakra grapple. Naruto can now traverse across areas using both of these devices that would normally be inaccessible using the claw shot. Naruto, now armed with two, looked around the room. He saw the door ahead of him, however the walkway leading to it was missing. So, he looked to the ceiling, and saw meat hooks. He questioned why meat hooks would hang from the ceiling at odd sections, but threw the first whip, and grappled the hook. Now, with the second Midna unsealed for him, he began to traverse across the gap, and now hung before the door. Midna flew and opened it with her magic hand, and Naruto let go of his hold, swinging into the next room, and she followed just before the door closed on her. Midna gave him a quick kiss before disappearing back into his shadow, and Naruto ran down the spare hallway, and soon came across a door. The door behind sealed once he walked in. Suddenly, four mechanical-looking wood puppets clad in red color with purple shogun armor grew from the ground, all wearing purple-ass bows. Behind them was another puppet, only it just wore the shoulder armor, and add a purple mantle to the ass bow it wore. The other puppets attacked, although they moved in a forced movement. Naruto simply blasted through them using the Kaze Kiwa. The leader puppet, which he dubs, simply, and surprisingly, shifts through 5 signs. The ground explodes, and more puppets emerged. Naruto was in for a fight. He kept swinging his blade, slicing through them with ease, while attacking the leader puppet whenever he could get close enough to strike. Naruto, when he walked into the final chamber, looked back as the door sealed shut, and a metal plate formed over it that began to glow, signaling that it was one of those security doors he saw in stores that eat chakra. He looked around, finding in the center a large tank filled with glowing green liquid, and some computers nearby. He looked at one panel, and it showed some information. He looked at the date. This thing, he was looking at now, had been under status for more than 20 years. It was an experiment, a failed one, which was supposed to recreate a demonic creature close to that of a bijou. That would explain all of those other mummified bodies of humans, animals, and nightmarish creatures he's encountered. Not to mention, somehow, Twilight parasites have emerged from Twilight to take control of those bodies and attack Naruto, controlling their hosts. Then, the screen beeped. It detected life signs. The thing was alive. Crash. Shatter. Naruto had backflipped away as the tank shattered, and the creature flopped like a fish out of water, said water now splashing across the ground, some going into drains around the room. The creature growled as its erratic movements ceased, and looked around. The body of this thing was large but with a slight hunchbacked frame, and various furs of different animals. The large broad shoulders had countless fangs procuring from the sides, and coils of cables infused into his powerful humanoid-looking dark bluish-gray arms. His hands were covered with armored blood-red, large 3-fingered claws. Of course, around the wrists were lobster-like pincers that, when snapped shut, completely covered the clawed hands within. Said pincers were the length of a scythe head. It had a long cruel beak as black as the night, crude-looking fangs protruding down like serrated edges along the bottom of its beak jawline. The head, however, was serpentine in appearance, with a set of 3 prominent green eyes poking out from haphazard holes in the headgear it sported. The legs were more or less like beefed-up ox legs on steroids, but also packed the fused frame of that of a tiger's hind legs. A sweeping snake tail rattles the rattler at the end. Add the octopus-looking protrusion coming out from the back of the head going down like some limp phallic-like object, and you have Orochimaru experiment number 1337. One hell of an ugly creature, of course. Knowing Orochimaru created this evil monstrosity came from the small window that popped up, which read that the experiment under the title Orochimaru's experiment number 1337 was active, yet required a total system reboot to the brainwave patterns. Basically, this thing was lusting for battle and blood. Naruto's blood, to be precise. The creature roars and swipes at Naruto with the swinging of its tail. Naruto dodged by doing another backward somersault. The creature snarls and opening its mouth expelled a bluish flame of liquid. Naruto ran around in a wide circle in this expansive laboratory-like chamber to outrun the liquid fire beam. The creature ceased fire, only to open up and exhale fireballs at Naruto. He swung, and was surprised that instead of cutting through the fire, it was repelled back and struck the creature in the mouth, issuing a pained roar. He took out the second fireball it fired after the first, and results the same hit. The creature snarled with hate and smashed its lobster-enclosed hands against the ground, generating a shockwave that spread, destroying machines left and right. Naruto dodged the tall shockwave by claw-shooting to the grated ceiling above. He flew off when it took a wild swing at him with the tail. Dropping down, he re-equipped the sword and shield as it came at him. But, he attacked with Kaitenjiri, driving it back long enough for him to jump into the air after throwing his sword up, grabbing it, and slashing down with chakra expelled from the blade. It was tossed back slightly by the explosion that erupted after the attack. Naruto backflipped as the creature got back to its feet and snarled, "This is going to suck." Chapter 25. Yamada Hirozashi sighed. Kami, this is boring, the man sighed. He then took a drag of his favorite stash. At least I got my green to light. He liked to smoke his drugs. He was a drug addict who sold drugs. He also experiences episodes and hallucinations once in a while. All of a sudden a giant frog drops down before his small shop set along a dirt-worn path, and then hops away. The man looks at the giant toad rapidly disappearing into the distance, and then he looked at his corn pipe. Oh yeah, he'd had the green for more than 40 years. That's it. I'm getting rid of my stash, he muttered, tossing the pipe away, and went to grab his stash of funky green marijuana to flush down the crapper. Naruto kept mouthing off as he dodged the final shockwave that had been tearing hell through the area, before he managed to claw shot at its head, and rapidly begin to stab it in the head. It shook him off by using its tail as a whip and sent him flying with a haymaker. Glad for the chainmail armor under the clothing protecting him from the worst damage, Naruto kept a firm grip on the sword, as he quickly got back up and circled the creature, keeping out of the range of its breath attacks. Oh, and did I mention that when it swings its rattler tail, it gives off a pulse of energy similar to kinetic missile launchers? Well, it does. And Naruto hated that technique already, having to dodge the blasts of chakra. Though he found out he could easily repel them if he struck the energy strikes. Back flipping away, he lands in a crouch, as Midna floated right next to him. The demonic creature roars at him, making the two grimace at how it stayed alive after all those attacks. How the hell do I take this freak down? Naruto questioned. The creature suddenly roared, and sent a shockwave that shorted out all lights, plunging the chamber into darkness. Naruto swore. Fuck, Naruto! Midna cried. He feels the foreign magic swirling around, infiltrating his body. Soon, that telltale of metamorphosis changed him back into his beast form, with Midna now taking her spot on his back. The view is a bit clearer now, and he could now see in the dark once again, and he leapt over a shockwave it sent. The creature snarled, smashing its hands, generating more shockwaves. And Fox Naruto kept jumping over the shockwaves, and dodging its thrown fists and tail strikes. Midna kept a firm hold on the boy's fur coat, while her hair twitches with her own source of magical energy. Naruto, when it gets close, I'll strike with my magic, okay? Right, he barked, as the demon then bends down, before going at them with a full-on body charge. Naruto stood his ground, and Midna's hair reacted, grasping the creature. She used her magic and of course her own strength, grunting as she managed to flip it to one side. Now! Naruto charged it, and latched onto its face and began to bite and claw away viciously. It roared, but managed to knock him away. Midna still kept a firm hold on Naruto, as Naruto scrambled back to his four legs, shaking his head briefly. The creature had blood dribbling down from the marks, and Naruto spat out an eyeball be tore out. Yuck! Midna giggled. Link was the same way, but you get used to it, trust me. Naruto growled, jumping as the creature attempted to flatten him yet again. Suga, piercing Fong. He had seen Kiba do this one before and mimicked him via mimicry. Midna hugged the blonde fox tight, expelling some of her magic to cloak him, while his chakra portion swirled like a drill. He had zipped through, and surprisingly, pierced through the demon. It gave out a death cry, as a now soaked Midna and Naruto emerged out the back of the creature. Blood, guts, and what other unidentifiable liquids coated them. Well, that was interesting, Naruto barked, shaking of most of the slime off him. Midna was disgusted however. Ugh, I need a bath and quick, she cursed. Let's get out of here, now, he told her. For once, I agree with you, she replied, as she formed a portal. Both stepped onto it, and vanished in a swirl of twilight. Naruto-kun. Hina ran to the boy who opened the door to Liz's place, and threw herself at him, arms wrapped around. Hey Hina, sorry if I scared you. You shithead. Don't ever scare me like that again. I thought I lost you. She shouted, banging her fists against his chest until she simply buried herself into his chest. He hugged her, as much as his injuries would allow. Don't worry. I survived. Now, think you can help me into Liz's living room? Hina wiped the tears that were fresh in her eyes, and nodded. I was worried when you suddenly fell into that hole. I feared the worst. I'm here now, so you do not have to assume anything, he spoke in a soft caring tone. She smiled. Now, why do you smell bad? Took out a monster that exploded its guts on me. Naruto. Naruto. They looked back, and saw the toad sage jumping off one of his unnamed giant toads. "Hey pervy sage," he said, before he started to slump. "Naruto." Jiraiya hoisted him before Hina lost her grip on the tunic-clad blonde. "Kid's going to be fine, he's just exhausted." "Well, little lady, who are you?" "I'm Hina, Naruto's girlfriend," she replied. "Naruto fell down this hole, and I started freaking out. I thought he was going to die. Can we come in? Liz, bring out some drinks, can you?" "Got it." Jiraiya lifted the boy, since he's stronger, and carried him to the couch, stripping off his sword, shield, and utility belt. "So, you're the toad sage, aren't you?" Liz asks, as she walked out with the drinks. "Yup, Naruto must have told you all about me, huh?" "Yeah, calling you a womanizing pervert that writes that dime store smut most men idolize," Liz said with a glare. "Oh come on, I'm not that bad." 2 glares from the girls told him to shut up, which he did. "You suck at horseback riding." "Shut up, you brat," Jiraiya mumbled. He was on Gameruto, alongside Naruto and his mare, Hina, keeping a light embrace around him. It has been a week, but slow travel, and an ambush with some Nukenin in the Mountain Valley Pass, they finally arrived at Konoha. "Now, you go and do whatever, take her home and whatnot. I'll talk to Tsunadeheim." Sure. "Just don't grope her if she's asleep," he snickered, and he trotted away from the gates, heading toward the lake to bring his girlfriend home. As Jiraiya entered the village, bypassing the sleeping guards Biggs and Wedge, Naruto took it to a slow pace towards the lake. "Hey, Hina, do you want to go fishing or just relax?" "Just relax. It's been a tough week returning home," she told him, leaning against him. He smiled. "Of course, Hina-chan. At the tower. And that's what I have been informed with," Jiraiya told Tsunade, nursing a bump on the head when he woke her up from her nap. Tsunade thought things through. Orochimaru had some sort of hidden base in Kawa, and Naruto discovered it by pure accident falling through a trap hole, and judging by the quick report Jiraiya made during the trek back from Kawa, Naruto showed signs of battle stress, which the old pervert healed up. She immediately thought of which ANBU teams to send to Kawa to investigate the supposedly abandoned base, but first, she needs details from Naruto, considering he's the one who gone through the base. "Where's the brat anyway?" "With his girlfriend at the lake," Jiraiya replied. A poof of smoke emerged, and Gamakichi appeared. The red and orange frog looked at Jiraiya. "Hey Erosenin, stop calling me that," he yelled. Tsunade gained a smirk because of the nickname. "Naruto needs some supplies from Tenku's shop." "Those ninoms of his that Tenku supplies," Jiraiya growled. "He can get them himself." "Why should I be Eren Ninja?" "'Cause you stole half of his money," Gamakichi replied. He counted. "Jiraiya." Jiraiya gulped, turning to see Tsunade cracking her knuckles. "Did you hear something?" "Nope," Naruto replied. Though, what they heard was Jiraiya getting punched by Tsunade, who reclaimed half of Naruto's stolen cash, which she guessed would have been for slutty women and drinks at those brothels, though, some sake wouldn't hurt. "So, Liz's place was eccentric?" "Yeah, she likes the sounds of a flowing river." He chuckled a bit. "Well, whatever helps her sleep at night I suppose." She grinned. "True." She slipped close, and Naruto captured her lips with a kiss. Just then they heard someone ringing the doorbell downstairs. "You are probably wondering about that doorbell, right? Well, it costs only a couple Ryo to buy a standard electrical doorbell at your local hardware store at the nearest town." Hina got up, as she headed out to answer the door. And Naruto just lies back on the couch with a yawn. "Him. I wonder how everyone's been," he whispered, before pulling his hat over his eyes, and closing them, willing himself to sleep. As Hina climbed the stairs to tell Naruto of visitors, she saw that he was sleeping on the couch, so, she gently closed the door and headed back downstairs. Naruto yawned, as his hat slipped off his head while he stretched. Hours had passed, and it's close to 6 in the morning. The early signs of life were awake, by the chirps of the early morning birds outside. Crap. He yawned once more, and then opened his eyes. He brought the backs of his hands to rub the sleep from his eyes, focusing on the events that occurred. He then remembered where he was. "Oh yeah." He yawned for good measure, and swung his legs over, sitting upright. "I think I should return to the village." He found a slip of paper and wrote a quick letter to Hina, before he got prepared, and quietly left the apartment. Making sure the door was locked using the spare key she entrusted him with, he turned around, only to see a woman with a cat mask on, and long purple hair. "Uzumaki Naruto, you were needed at the village yesterday by the Hokage's order, but I was told by your Girlfriend, you were asleep, please come with me. Sure. Naruto walked over to Epona, who was awake. The horse snorted quietly, as Naruto boarded the mare. He trots off towards Konoha, and Anbu Nico followed the blonde tunic-wearing swordsman. Naruto looked out the window, then back towards Tsunade. You disappear for quite a while, disobeyed my orders and left the village to live with another girl you add to that little harem of yours. She stared at the boy she sought so much as her own son, and now, you run into an old abandoned laboratory which was, from what you told Jiraiya, crawling with mutated experiments that still lived to this day. Pretty much. Though, some things he had left out was Midna keeping the crystal form the Nibi battle, and using its magic to warp Naruto into a liable animal form, a fox. She sighed. Naruto, why must you do such dangerous things? Comes with accepting the destiny of a hero long past, he replied, that, and Midna would not let up until I have saved her from her fate, as I did promise her one time. Considering what had transpired, you are back on active duty, however, you will also be paid B-ranked payment due to your impromptu mission. But I do expect some sort of report on what went down, because I plan on sending some ANBU to Kawa to investigate these ruins, and destroy it if it proves too dangerous to let alone. Sure. Sure, maybe I'll go see my friends. He kicked up off the couch, and left. Why can't things be normal around here? Tsunade whispered to herself. It's been a month since the incident in Kawa. Though the laboratory was destroyed for the better good, Naruto had been reinstated as a ninja, though he now displayed Konoha's symbol by equipping the metal plate onto his utility belt of his. Naruto and the girls had made up, and he moved back into his apartment, though he kept his part-time job just over the weekends, unless she had some sort of mission that needed to be done. Hina understood though. She also understood his situation with the whole multiple girlfriend business, well, almost. Chapter 26. Orochimaru looked at Kabuto. He had been fully healed, and he had the Uchiha in his grasp. So, he's going as planned, correct? Yes, Orochimaru-sama, Kabuto replied. The white-skinned Sannin smiled sinisterly. Excellent, how is the Uchiha? He is, a bit of a prude, and arrogant. He will however learn all he wishes to learn, just so he can kill his brother Itachi. Kabuto said nothing in response. Whenever Orochimaru got that glint in his eye, it was wise not to speak. What of the spies? Now it's safe to talk. The monster attacks are being investigated. I heard a group of Konoha ninja have taken the mission to investigate what is going on. I heard that among the two, is Enko-chan, and Naruto-kun. Enko-chan, I am a bit surprised, but it doesn't matter. Naruto on the other hand, no doubt we have already heard what had occurred, what with this Twilight King out there messing things up. I wonder though, how my other experiments have been going. Inumi, a young girl around her early teens, woke up to the sound of her window being broken in by a rock. She sighed, as the villagers from the nearby village have once again tried to torment her and cause her pain. She however did nothing much but ignore the suffering brought upon her, all because of what she has become. An experiment with a creature Orochimaru had found a few years ago. The boat ride was quiet. Those riding this boat they boarded from Cha was Mitarashi Enko, Yamanaka Ino, Aburame Shino, and Uzumaki Naruto. Well, it was almost quiet. Unless Ino invaded Naruto's mind, no one knew of his and Midna's internal conversation. With the way that white-haired pervert goes about, and that weird pervy shuffle of his, Midna heard laughter coming from Naruto. I'm surprised he doesn't call himself a self-proclaimed pimp. He's too busy calling himself a super pervert, than a self-proclaimed pimp. Midna chuckled. I guess that is true as well, though, I don't know which is weirder, the pervy shuffle, or those two humans who shout out flames of youth almost constantly. Oh, definitely Guy and Lee. Have you seen the sunset that pops up behind them when they hug each other in their weird way? I guess you're right. What could be worse than that, though? Matching speedos that barely cover the ass and just the crotch? You mean male thongs? Niji felt sick. His team was on a small vacation, and they were at the Konoha Lake. Needless to say, they have one portion of the beach all to themselves, because of Guy and Lee hugging each other, wearing equal green male thongs. Plus, he had to constantly beat into his head that Tenten had a thing for Naruto, but seeing her in that bikini of hers, no. Bad Niji. No pervy thoughts. HM. I wonder if Erosenin has pervy senses. Naruto thought, wouldn't that be a ripoff from Spider-Man? What? Naruto and Midna stopped their mental talk time, as he looked at Enko. What? You're spacing out. Sorry, just having a talk with Midna, that imp-looking girl. Faye, whatever Naruto, look, pay attention next time. Fine, what is it? Ino sighed. We were going over mission details. Naruto nodded, as he sat straight again. Meanwhile, in an undisclosed location, Lansing looked at the two scrolls that he had in his possession. One pulsed a red aura and the other pulsed a dark purple. Both had his own seals worked so it couldn't be broken unless she did so. He was also quite busy, finding the time to get himself some generals. It was hard to infiltrate more of his magic into solid form, but his magic grew stronger with each passing day, and his army continued to grow bigger and bigger. Soon, boy, I'll have enough of an army to come after you. He looked at Kumo, who had walked into the dark room. Master, they are almost complete. Good. Continue to monitor them, and make sure our little Amachi keeps up his ploy when it comes with Orochimaru. I don't trust that man as far as his urges for immortality is concerned. Is it because Amachi's little transformation is like the aggressive species of the Zora concerning similarity? Lansing smirked. The Kaima form of his and that little girl who he has working under him? Maybe a little. Kumo said nothing else, and removed himself from the room with a short bow. Lansing continued to plot within his mind. The man is greedy. Power is a form of lust in the heart of man. Though, he will become of little use to me, once I mutate him using a bit of my own magic. Then, they will see a true sea monster. He couldn't help but smile that evil smile, eyes shining. They disembarked from the boat when they had finally reached their destination days later. About time, because Naruto was getting slightly tired of being restless. Really, that happened before? Yup. Though it was during the time Link rode about the land of Hyrule seeking out Poes that held fragments of this guy's soul which he sold for riches. Link wanted to rest for a bit and decided to visit Hina. And going into the shop, he discovered Hina. Yup, Midna replied with a giggle. I was still laughing seeing Link's face turn a bright red as Hina got off using the handle of his fishing pole, and then the awkwardness between them. Link must have gotten hurt when he walked in on her, huh? Up in the clouds, Link scowled. Why did Midna have to tell him that? He grumbled, remembering how he spied Hina in a near-naked situation, his fishing pole, and then the tackle box that she threw and nailed him square in the face. Could be worse, Link, said Minato, who wrapped an arm around the Hyrulean. How? She was your wife and she was angry that someone peeked on her showering, replied the Yondaime, and took that anger on the first person she spotted. Slash back on Earth slash. Jiraiya shivered, as if someone stepped on his grave. He looked around, suddenly fearful for his life. Why did he have the urge to hide and curse his dead student's name? With our esteemed Team Enko, Naruto had his sword and shield out, always ready for sudden surprise attacks. After everything that has happened, the world was slowly starting to become a more dangerous place, and not because of various ninjas good and bad out in the world. Well, the reason for the weapons being out was that this path hid some of the few dark creatures that he himself has dealt with from his trek saving Yujito. Naruto sighed as they landed from trekking the trees. He sort of forgot that being a ninja, he could do such fast traveling. But he would rather ride Epona around whenever he can. So, how long do we reach the target? Not far, said Enko, as the sun disappeared in the horizon, and night was beginning to take effect. As they walked, the others were cut off by a barrier of twilight and above, a portal emerged, depositing 4 shadow beasts. The portal shocked Enko and the 2 genin, but Naruto only cursed his mouth off as the 3 beasts got up, growling. Enko was repelled away when she tried to break through the barrier, but Naruto immediately spun, releasing a wave of energy through the Kaitenjiri. He sliced through the 3 beasts, pushing them back with bad gashes on their chests. He backflips dangerously close towards the energy wall, before he took a burst jump and spun, slicing through them. But he missed one as the others fell, and it screeched, stunning Naruto and everything else in the vicinity. Before his eyes, as he recovered, they got back up and resumed their attack. Well, this sucks. Naruto swore. He jumped into the air, and stomped down on one shadow beast as he hop-skips to the other side. They rushed Naruto, who lashed out with the blade's Kaitenjiri technique. The weakened beast which revived the others fell to its death, and Naruto rolled under a swipe and spun once more. This time, he took them out. Enko, Ino, and Shino watched as the felled creatures explode into a shred of what looked like energy, which then dissipated. It left behind multiple squares that glow a green to aqua color. The squares all surged through like a beam, and reformed the same portal. The Twilight portal however was the same color as the lined squares and rectangles, not reddish to brick red. Naruto! Are you alright? Naruto sheathed the shield and sword, and nodded to Anko. Yeah, I'm fine. What the hell was that? She questioned/demanded. Shadow beasts, dark creatures of Lansing, there are only 2 portals opened so far. Near Kaminari no Kuni and now out here in Umi no Kuni. Naruto's shadow twisted, and Anko on instinct drew a kunai, but Midna formed before them all. So, another portal, huh Naruto? Naruto turned his head to stare up at the sky, where the portal was, just hanging there in the air like some sort of curse. Now, Naruto-kun, Midna speaks up again, now that there are 2 portals open, they are in a way linked. You see, back in the past, when shadow beasts emerged, most of the time it was when Twilight blanketed most of the lands. When a specific amount of beasts were slain, the portal they emerged in reforms, but shine a non-lethal aura. Right now, we only have transport between here, to the area near Kaminari no Kuni. But until more open, that is as far as you will be able to travel, and those I carry with. We have to be near the portal? No, she replied, I can focus on my Twilight powers and transport you or anybody anywhere. I can also use my powers without the aid of the portals, but it takes more of my magical strength to do so. Naruto looked at Midna. Sure, so, now what? If those shadow beasts appeared, that means Lansing is up to something. Probably focused attacks, Midna guessed. Ahem, but we have a mission to do here, spoke Anko. Midna and Naruto look at the adult, and then each other. Midna nods, and disappears back into his shadow. The next day, they had made it to their destination, and Anko was talking to the crew of a boat that requested this mission in the first place. However, you see, during the traveling last night, they had to travel across a small body of water toward the next island that was not far off. They were attacked by Nin, and Naruto got knocked over and vanished in the fast currents. Naruto and Midna were now missing, and no one liked that it happened. Damn it, where am I? Naruto-kun, get up. He opened his eyes, and slowly got to his feet and looked around. Where are we? Midna, who was floating beside him, shook her head. I have no clue. When we got separated from your friends, I tried to pull you to safety, but I got knocked out as well. All I know is that we're in some sort of cave. But how did we get here is the question, Naruto thought. As they continued down the dark path, to find their way out, they were unaware that somehow, they had stumbled upon something far more dangerous than just the mission alone. Deep within this cave system of the island, Naruto was about to discover yet another of Orochimaru's hidden laboratories, and a man who ultimately worked for the greater evil. Chapter 27. Naruto slid a stone door to the side, and he walked into the next room, as the door behind sealed up. The room was partially flooded, and there was natural lighting in this room. As Naruto casted his eyes across the wide room, he guessed it was at least the flight of 2 floors, the first floor being submerged. Fish swam in the water, but he did not trust that weird-looking squid trying to hide itself within the thick seaweed that covered a portion of the coral-like floor. This could be worse, Midna told Naruto. Oh yeah, how? / breaking the 4th wall / Our esteemed author could have been stuck writing Vocaloid fics, mainly about Kagamine Len and Kagamine Rin, and using the term Susijikan, the Imp Princess explained with a shrug of her shoulders, like his last few stories on the twins depicted in sibling settings, separate lovers, or twincest lovers. Wait a minute. Vocaloid? You mean those virtual singers whom sing songs for you unless you were very talented enough to do some singing as well? Oh dude, I really love Hatsune Miku. She's very cute, so is Len, the cute Shota. Even though David had been a Vocaloid fan, he hasn't gotten into the hype until around 2 months ago when he started downloading various different Vocaloid songs, and watches PVs on YouTube and Nico, and then decides to expand his fanfiction universe into the Vocaloid world. And you think Len is a cute Shota? Yeah. I mean look at him. Len does look like a Shota. Wait a minute, Midna, aren't we breaking the 4th wall here or something? Naruto questioned the princess. Maybe, but those whom liked this storyline are sure to wonder, even if he did explain in that short chapter a page back, his reasons for not updating this story for so long, and leaving us nearly stranded. Basically, I have a feeling it did not explain enough henceforth right now. Naruto's sweat dropped. So, is that the reason I was left laying about here after that trek through Orochimaru's abandoned laboratory, and those creepy-ass mutant monsters trying to kill us? Hell, I agreed with Leaf Ranger stating that I could have gotten a better scene with the neglectful girls. Pretty much and I agree, so hopefully the readers reading this will know about their dear author more, and his slight addiction to Vocaloid, and the way my character is an Ika Ika duo. I mean, sure, Ika Ika Paradise is a bit good, depending on how I am in all stories on this website, but me and Hinata-chan big-time perverts? That was funny though, Midna said with a blushing giggle. Oh, and how about you being a vampire and having Hinata as your human lover? Naruto blushed. And me being his pet? Disgusting, said Kyubi. Midna blinks. Kyubi, you're supposed to be dead in this story. Yeah well, you broke the fourth wall, so bite my furry nine-tailed ass. And the fox gets the boot out of here. What about the author David-san? I knocked some damn sense into his head, and got him to start organizing all of his stories he's neglected in the past. Though he is still popping up more Vocaloid stories. Hey, it's not my fault Midna besides, being an otaku, you can't control yourself at times. Although those fleeting touches was a spur-of-the-moment type of thing, one of the best stories ever made and all I did was sit around on my computer bored out of my mind and then I start writing. Granted I also thought back to past experiences. The first time I even came here was because I had this odd dream about Harry Potter summoning the winged dragon of RA against the Hungarian Horntail during the Tri-Wizard tournament, and thus that particular crossover came into life. And that was before I did the one about you Naruto and the Death Note. Oh yeah, you made me slightly insane, and left Hinata and Hanabi alive. Well, I love Hinata-chan and Hanabi-chan. I'd say Susujikan, but they're not twins. Someone called for me? Asked the boy wonder himself. Naruto in response shoves him out of the view. Harry-san, you don't belong here. Well excuse me, hero, Harry snaps, and operats from this universe. Oi, what about me? In walks a man with sand-yellow blonde hair, tan skin, and has most of his hair binded into a long rope-like ponytail reinforced with tape wrappings. I have about 7 different genre job occupations on this website alone, this world being one of them. 8 if you say that Shinigami and Fairy Boy are different subjects via Bleach and Yu Yu Hakusho. Oh Sekai-kun. A teenager with aqua-colored hair and wearing what looked like a gray dress-like school outfit, glommed Sekai from behind. She is Hatsune Miku. Hello Miku-chan, Sekai said, getting up as Miku smiled brightly, causing Midna and Naruto to sweat drop as she waved a leak about. Sekai, you suddenly vanished while we were playing poker with Meiko, Kaido, Luka, and Gakupo, what happened? The girl manages to lace her fingers with the young man's own hand, and a fleeting smile forms on Sekai's lips. Complaining to the author, was his response. HM. Oh yeah, I forgot I gave you a berth into the Vocaloid world as my own created fan character, unofficial of course. Ma. Lucky the girl in your life has a hold on you, though she's a bit of an otaku herself. Midna snaps at the author behind the keyboard. Oh yeah. Bite me, princess. Now watch as I drown out the room with the Twilight Ninja assembled soundtrack. Midna glared, before looking at the blonde Egyptian. And what are you doing here anyway? You don't show up until some chapters into the Twilight Ninja Shippuden. Have you seen the jobs I do Midna? It's exhausting, trust me. As a ninja, I am either banging my twin sister Rin, or I'm banging Sasuke's mom, not that I don't mind. Hee. Sasuke's mom rhymes with Stifler's mom. Sekai sweat dropped, gaining this annoyed look, but Miku kept a hold on his arm. Now, Sekai-kun, let's return back to Sapporo, HM. Besides, you're much better company than Kaido, he seems to go for Meiko. She then leaned close. Just as I go for you. Sekai smiled more, as their faces inched closer. Yeah, and just like that, they lock lips, and Naruto and Midna look at one another, then blush a bit, remembering the kiss they shared some chapters back in the storyline. The author just returns to repairing the broken fourth wall while he nudges the kissing couple out of this plotline. Midna-chan, you still hasn't explained how the situation could end up becoming worse, Naruto interrupts, as the theme of the Lakebed Temple plays. Repairing the 4th wall /. Well, for instance, there could have been no way out of this cavern, she explained. Luckily, there's something above on that ledge over there. She points to the high ledge out of his reach, even with his grapples. Naruto sighed. So, the question is how to get there. He looks around the room once again, and spots something out of the ordinary he did not see the first time. It looked like one of those in-wall grates, and behind it was a lit light bulb. Apparently, there was some man-made electricity running through this underground cavern, but why? Naruto took out the claw shots, and fired the right hook. It flew through the air, and makes a latch. With a tug he's reeled toward the rocky wall side. But, he was nowhere near the outcrop of the ledge. So, he turned to Midna. Where to? HM. She looked around. Grab your grapple and aim at that stalagmite. Ah, I see it. He removes the left gauntlet, and was gripping the chakra grapple, before he swings out a beam of light. It wraps around the base of it, and he releases the claw grip, and swings down. Now, here, Naruto did some aerial footwork with the grapple, until he manages to finally climb high enough to grab that high ledge. Crawling up onto solid land, a door is in his vision. Opening that door, he walked into a barrel hallway, with wires running across the ceiling, and various placed light bulbs, emitting a low light. He dragged out the shield and sword and walked down the hallway, as Midna floated behind him. Suddenly there were faint footfalls, and the two hugged the wall at the corner. When the person or thing came close he sprung and brought his blade, and stopped as a scream emerged from a human girl who wore bandages on portions of her body. Shit! I nearly killed you, Naruto cursed, as Midna was unable to cloak herself. The girl saw Midna, and began to scream again, but Naruto shot his hand over her mouth, as a loud growl echoed. What was that? Naruto looked at the girl. Don't scream, and get behind us. She nodded, and scurried behind us. Coming from the darkness was something that looked like a giant lizard, but it was covered with a mane of fur around the neck, and spikes running down the backside. How it moved with only 2 legs was strange, but what he recognized most about it was that the patterns on its skin glowed similar to the Twilight portals, and one half of its reptilian head was covered by that same face shield worn by the shadow beasts. Naruto narrows his eyes as the creature spotted its prey it had been chasing through the caverns, and began to quicken its pace. Naruto however dashed at it as it launched its long tongue, slicing through with ease. It screeched in pain. What is that thing? The girl questioned. The creature hissed its dying breath before exploding into a haze of ash. Naruto pulls the blade from the ground, and sheaths it as he turned around. A creature of Lansing, no doubt, Naruto muttered, walking back to check on the girl. You alright? Midna floats next to him as the girl nodded. Hi, I'll be fine. Thank you. No problem. What's your name, and how did you end up here? My name is Isaribi, and well, you see. I was kidnapped, she lied, and I was waking up when I saw that demon appear and try to devour me. I was running for I guess half an hour or so. If I lost it, it would emerge again, always finding me. Who is she? Is she a demon too? Oh, I am not a demon, she shouted, slipping into her native language. Midna, clam down, and speak in my language too. Oh, sorry Naruto, Midna apologized, now in Japanese dialect. No, Midna is not a demon, she's from a different world. I guess you can say that. She and I are on this quest together, and we have to deal with this evil that threatens the whole world. Oh. I see. You're going to stay with us until we can find a way out of this place. Though, I hope this isn't like the lakebed temple at the bottom of Hyrule Lake, Midna whispered. Midna, when he and she have time alone, would regal in the adventure she had with Link in the far past. In a sense, Naruto had some tastes of how Link fought against an evil that was similar to the one he was now facing. Midna surprised Isaribi by vanishing into Naruto's shadow, but Naruto gave no indication, but beckoned the girl to follow him. But all of a sudden, a strong force struck him in the back of the head, knocking him out. The same force also knocked out Isaribi, and when Midna emerged, she too was knocked out. All around them, the cavern began to shift, twist, and turn, warping under a familiar flare of magic. Deep within the protected labs, Amachi watched as Lansing twisted his aura, transforming Orochimaru's hidden laboratory island into his own personal trap. The labs are protected, are they not? Of course, but you wouldn't care much anyway, after I give you what you desired. Yes, the power of which you spoke of, one that Orochimaru will not grant me, which I shall grant upon you. A sick smile formed behind the mask, before his aura expelled, shattering the laboratory, but also knocked Amachi out cold, as the twilight began to warp his body, forcing him into his Kaima form. From the edge of the coastal island, everyone was feeling the sudden aura of darkness, ninjas or not. However, a group of Konohanins indeed felt the sudden aura, and Anko watched as the forbidden island which the townspeople spoke of in fear, began to transform, growing jagged spires of earth. The townspeople called the island Kikai. But ever since the vanishing of fishermen and sailors, they resorted to calling it Kamikakushi. But now, with this heavy aura of evil radiating around it, Anko knew something more was happening, and if those black beasts appearing the other day was any indication. She shook her head. Ever since she came here, flashes of her past would spring up. She cursed Orochimaru's name in thought. The man destroyed her life, and left her to die had it not been for Sarutobi, who had rescued her along with Kakashi, Yugugo, and several other ANBU on that day. Naruto groaned, as he was the first to regain consciousness. The drip-drop of tears echoed near him. Water dropped off a stalagmite. He slowly got up, looking around. There was a door in front of him, but it was locked. The ground felt saturated and diggable. He crawled over to Midna, and roused her into the conscious world, by kissing her softly. Midna responded to the kiss, and moaned a bit into Naruto's mouth before she opened her eyes. And Naruto-kun, Sach. We're fine, apparently. Something knocked us out, but now, I can just feel how similar this area feels to the Temple of Lightning. Twilight. Lansing was here. Midna picked up her fallen headgear, and was about to put it back on, then Naruto stopped her. He leaned close and kissed Midna again, and the Twilight returned the kiss. But as much as this was romantic, they heard someone clear her voice, and turned to see a blushing, but awake, Isaribi. The hero and the princess both blush, as Midna wears the headgear once again, and Naruto stands up. Isaribi, you alright? Yes I am, you love her. He looks over at Midna, and smiles softly. Yeah, though we need to concentrate on what is happening now. Lansing was here, and warped this place, wherever we are, into a dungeon. Naruto by now had taken out, and wore his mole gauntlets. I'll dig a way out of here. The ground's soft enough to break through. Be careful though, Naruto, Midna warned. Naruto smiled and began to attack the ground with the sharp claws. Isaribi just stood there, watching as Naruto's odd items began to dig a deeper man-sized hole, until he began to move slowly under the door. Eventually, he breaks ground and pops up from the other side. Midna follows, and so does Isaribi. Naruto had put away the items, and helps the girl out of the hole, before they look down the hallway leading to another door in the end. Well, if the last dungeon we explored is anything to prepare for. Midna nodded, and vanished into his shadow once more. Stay close by, Isaribi, okay? You would never know if more of those monsters pop up. Hi. Isaribi knew exactly where they were, but she didn't want to say anything. She saw the Konoha leaf symbol that was on the belt buckle the blonde wore, though she never known a ninja to wear a green tunic of all things, or carry an extravagant sword and oddly designed shield. In fact, to her, Naruto looked more like some sort of swordsman or warrior than a shinobi. At the door, Naruto places his palms against it, and moves it. The door slides into the ceiling, allowing them access into the next room. The room was flooded, and Naruto could barely make out a door underwater. Now, this is going to suck. Swimming in the water was a school of those bony rabbit fish. The occasional drip of water hitting the water echoes in the cavern-like room, and several torches were shielded by metal casa, giving off the light above water. Below, however, were several crystals that appeared to give off its own internal glow. The only way of getting to that door is to somehow drain all this water. There, he found what looked like a panel button. It was cleverly disguised as well to look like it was part of the wall. The only thing was that it was across the other side of the room. Stay here, okay? Sure, Naruto-kun, she said, and watched as Naruto put away his two weapons, only to drag out from a scroll via smoke poofing, two strange sticks. Chakra grapples in hand, he jumped, and lashed out with a beam of chakra, wrapping around a sturdy stalagmite. Isaribi was entranced by the sight, Naruto swinging above the water, making sure not to fall in. She didn't like the faint glow in the eyes of those fish swimming around. Soon, Naruto made it to the small ledge, and struck the near-hidden panel. The room began to shake, as somehow, the water level began to drain down until the door was exposed, and the fish now began to flop around gasping for breath. With one claw shot, he flew across the air, stunning Isaribi until he clung to the thick ivy that overgrown one portion of the wall. Climb down, he called to the girl, who nodded and walked over, before kneeling down, and began to climb down using the thick vines as a sturdy ladder. After 2 minutes they landed on the damp ground, and Naruto kicked around the deadly fish, the dup heading toward the door. Once opened, the next room was even colder. And then the doors sealed and lock up with iron fencing. Isaribi took a step forward, but Naruto held her back with one arm. He didn't like that creature standing there in the center of the medium-sized room. All of a sudden a giant bug emerged, and melted right into it. The dead creature that stood there now twitched, before releasing a roar, as a green mist emanated from its giant maw, a very long tongue lolling out the side. The creature's arms were long, bony, yet the hands were bigger than a gorilla's, and segmented to look like sharpened knives. The main body was thick, stumpy, and the legs were thick, small, and knee-less. Oddly enough, for a head, it was fused to the body because the trio of slits lining the upper sides near the shoulders was the eyes. It rushed Naruto with surprising speed, however, for a malformed Red, who jumped back, dodging the swipes. Isaribi stared in fright. She had never seen such horrors in her life, and not just from the torture that occurred to her by the man who Amachi worked for. Her eyes kept glued to the salivating monster that sprang to life when that weird purple mist, and what she thought was some sort of bug, melt into the thing. Naruto, however, was dodging the attacks with ease, easily predicting its movements and countering with well-aimed strikes with the Master Sword. Before long, Naruto caused it to explode into ash, before he killed the bug that tried to escape. And, as if the death of the creature was the trigger, she heard the shink of iron rising up, as the door behind her was no longer blocked. A similar sound echoed on a ledge above, and then Naruto turned around as he felt a sudden whirl of energy, and a treasure chest emerged. Already Isaribi ran over to him, walking a half circle around the dust that was the undead creature. Naruto sighed, as he walked around the chest, and gave it a good kick. The thing shook, before it popped open. Inside was a key. Isaribi. Yes. Naruto handed her the key. Can you hold on to this for me? Sure. She took the item and places it into one of the pockets of her outfit. He smiled a bit, before turning toward the door on the ledge. Hold on to me now, he warned her, and she did, arms wrapped around his torso. The blonde pulled out his claw shot, and fired it up at the wall, where he saw a grated panel covering a lantern. Grappled, he tugged on it and Isaribi screamed as they flew up, and onto the ledge. She let go, and tried to catch her breath after the scream she released, while Naruto chuckled. Should have warned you. You should have, she snapped, but Naruto opened the door, and Isaribi huffed, before following the blonde. After all, she had no choice. This was not the place she remembered, and something else was happening that her senses told her to not get separated from Naruto. The boat trailed away from the whirlpools that surrounded the island, preventing anybody from trying to sail close enough to the now dangerous island. Damn it! First Naruto disappeared and now this happens, Anko cursed. Sorry Anko-san, said person who owned the boat. His name was Hishiro Fox, who was brown-eyed, and had fire-red short long hair. There are whirlpools that now surround this island. I have no clues what kind of act this could be, spoke his sister, Sure, who had emerald eyes and waist-black hair. If we get any closer, we'll lose the boat to the whirlpools. It's too dangerous to even get closer. Anko growled. Anko-sensei, what about Naruto? He's still missing after all. I know that kid, spoke the snake mistress, we just hope he's alright. Once we return to land, we'll try to find him once again. They just never knew that Naruto was stuck somewhere within the formed dark dungeon that made up the transformed island. Chapter 28. The last Lizalfos fell to Naruto's blade with a scaly cry. Sword falling from its loose grip, it broke into dust as the creature explodes into black ash. Naruto sighed in relief. You okay, Isaribi? I am fine, she replied, holding onto the kunai she was given. Can I have the key? They had been traveling through some corridors, sometimes backtracking. They found a compass and a map of this dungeon, and so far, they found a second key, the first having been used to open the door to get said map. When she grabbed the key from her robes and handed it to Naruto, Naruto unlocked the pad and it along with the chains crashed to the ground. Naruto opened the door, and they rushed through, into a room with ankle-deep water. The door behind them slams shut, and is sealed off. Naruto felt something wrong in this room, and he cautiously trekked to the center of the room. All of a sudden, he cried out when a hologram of Lansing emerged, and he had jumped back. Midna emerged from Naruto's shadow, and the two stood there, on guard. So, there's Amachi's little girl, Lansing cackled. Amachi's girl? Oh, didn't you know? She works for Orochimaru. Naruto and Midna's eyes widen as they turned to face Isaribi, who was shocked that this person knew that she worked for Amachi, and by proxy, Orochimaru, the man who did this to her. You work for Orochimaru? Against her will of course, but now, she'll join Amachi. Lansing suddenly threw something at Isaribi, and it impacted her forehead. The medium-sized gem embedded itself into her forehead, and she cried out as an aura of black sprung around her, burning away the bandages revealing the scale portions of her body. Lansing cackled evilly as the hologram vanished. Shit, now what? We can't kill her. I have questions for her. All of a sudden the water level began to rise, until Naruto became buoyant. Midna looked at Isaribi, who began to transform, showing off traits of that of Azora. Before long, the transformed girl zipped through the water. Naruto was completely at her mercy right now. Damn it! Naruto cursed before he got yanked underwater. Midna shouted out his name, but Naruto was struggling to get away from the entranced Isaribi. He threw his fist at her, but she dodged. His movement underwater was sluggish, that he was unable to attack properly. Naruto broke the surface of the water, only to get dragged back down by the girl. Naruto-kun! Midna cried out, before she dove under. She pulsed some of her magic into her ponytail, and formed the fist which she then swung, and slugged Isaribi in the stomach. Naruto swam to the surface and broke through, gasping for air. Damn it! Naruto cursed. Isaribi snarled, and swam back a bit before she brought her hands together, and formed a watery globe of bluish-white energy. Isaribi then thrusted her palms before her, sending the energy ball at Naruto. Midna grabbed Naruto with her hair and flung him out of harm's way, and she dematerialized into Twilight, before reforming once again. Naruto gasped for breath as he surfaced again. How the hell can I get rid of that crystal that's on her forehead? How? He noticed Isaribi speeding towards him once again, and he tried to lash out a kick. She dodged and came smashing at him from behind, sending him under one again. This time, Midna grappled Isaribi before she could get a chance to swim or try and drown Naruto once again. She flung the girl and she crashed face first into the wall. There was a shattering of glass, and it appeared the broken remains of the crystal fell from her forehead, triggering the water level to sudden drop down, until it was at ankle-deep length once more. Naruto sputtered and coughed a bit, as Midna flew to him. He was soaking wet, and tried getting some of the blonde wet locks away from his face. That was easy, hoping to try and drown you. She's quite speedy underwater, but not until you grabbed her, quick thinking Midna. She smiled. Naruto then remembered Isaribi, and rushed over to the girl. Her little transformation had receded, but now, she was unconscious, and hurt. Now what? Hee hee, so, the little brat's alive after all. Naruto and Midna spring into action, the blonde drawing his sword. Standing there from a small cliffside was what looked like a humanoid male. His skin was greenish teal, and he had fish-like gills and fins lining the sides of his face, forearms, back of the legs, and webbed feet and hands, complete with sharp small claws. The eyes had no pupils, and were a full yellow red. There was a bit of upper body muscle, and as he leapt down, Naruto and Midna made out scale-like armor fused into his being. A short tail descended from behind, with a long spinal fin lining the column. The tail end was finned, yet was curled a bit with a sharp stinger. The shoulders have what looked like bone marrow made into pauldrons, with hollow skull-like indentations made into its surface. And who the hell are you? Amachi's the name. I worked for Orochimaru, but thanks to Lansing, he's giving me the power which the snake would never grant upon me. Look at me. With the research used on that failure of an experiment, I have become what Orochimaru failed to do using the DNA FO that creature Lansing called a river Zora. A toothy grin crept among Amachi's face, before a pillar of water blasted right at them, sending them back. If you don't mind, I'm taking the brat with me. I still have plans for you, boy, and Lansing will gladly reward me for killing the hero of time. Naruto got up, but Amachi suddenly skated across the water, dragging the unconscious Isaribi with him before he suddenly dove into a hole, which sealed shut with an iron grate. Damn it! Naruto cursed. Naruto, stop it! We'll find her and rescue her, okay? Naruto growled, but agreed. The gates slide open, and Naruto looked to the door before him. With a nod, the two left, continuing to explore, and also locate and rescue Isaribi from the man who called himself Amachi. No signs of Naruto. Damn, why does this always happen to Naruto? Anko swore. Because he's Naruto. Ever since Kyubi had been ripped from my friend, he's changed, and so has the village to an extent. Anko chuckled. Shino was right about that. Ever since the stupid fox had been stolen by some evil nutjob plotting eventual world domination, Naruto had changed, and now, he and Hinata are tied to some weird fairy tale fate which has happened centuries ago before either time. Well, this sounds like some elaborate story concocted by fate, bah. But what about? Naruto will be fine. He has that imp girl with him. As for the mission, we would have no clue on how to complete it without getting ourselves swallowed up by those whirlpools that now surround our target island. Ino, Shino, and Anko were right now, back at the village, with the Hishiro twins, whom were currently engaged by the lips, something that still brought a giggle to Anko when the words forbidden love came to mind. Still, Naruto was a member of the Leaf, and they would have to search for him. Naruto sliced upward with the Master Sword, ripping through the third Chew worm once it was clawshot out of its protective Chew jelly sphere. The worm shrieked before death claimed it. The faint roaring of the waterfalls continued to echo within this expansive cave-like room, where Naruto could not see anything within the inky black of the giant hole. There are only a few expansive stone platforms jutting up from the darkness, and Naruto did not want to find out how deep said giant hole was. Naruto sheathed the sword and clasped the shield to his back again, and takes a look around. From where he began, the door there led back to his small struggle with the controlled Isaribi before she was kidnapped. The few Kisses that flew around here had been killed fairly easily using the claw shots. He continued to hop across carefully. Naruto, wait. Naruto stopped. What is it, Midna? See that? Yeah. He was looking at what looked like a red jewel flat against the surface of the wall, surrounded by a golden great ring. Claw shot mark. Naruto pulled it out and fired it. The claw flew through the air, until it latched onto the mark, and he was reeled toward the wall, where his boots impacted the surface. Above, there was a walkway of stone that connected across like a bridge. There, he fired the second claw shot, and manages to grasp the tangled vines and is reeled up, before Midna quickly helped him over the edge. She retreats back into his shadow as he heard two wet splats. Chew jellies. He merely stepped on them as he walked toward the door facing west. Once going through, he saw a large chest hugging the wall surrounded by two lit torches, burning bluish-green embers. He walked over to it, and then, he managed to open the chest, and reached inside. Naruto obtains the vacuum gust. This strange device works off the user's chakra and can generate a vacuum of wind, or generate enough wind-based chakra to fire. He took out what looked like a full forearm gauntlet. Its size was the same as one mole gauntlet, however, the barrel end was like a small medium-sized electric fan. In fact, it looked like some sort of arm-attached fan. Inside there was a slim cylinder cannon where his arm can easily slip inside, which he placed on, and his hand grasped around a handle, his index against a trigger button. The color scheme of this oddly designed item was an overall mud brown, the barrel of the fan and the fan propeller was green, with a yellow nose nozzle. Decorating the outer cannon casing were various wide vents. On the top was an oval red jewel, glittering gently. The resounding slam of an iron barrier alerted Naruto that he had just now fallen into a trap. Drip, drip, drip. He heard that dripping sound, and saw what looked like chew jelly falling from the spiked ceiling. Soon a short cascade emerged, until a giant chew emerged from the ceiling. He looked at it, seeing how easily this jelly monster towered him. It looked like a living walking giant teardrop flipped upside down. Its surface had eyes, googly-looking eyes, and this weird smile that looked painted on. Its color was more of an ice blue. It wiggled and jiggles a bit, before Naruto jumped back as a short burst of static electricity radiated off it. The thing then moved towards him with that creepy painted smile. Naruto ran far away from it, until it managed to actually jump, and try and crush him. He thankfully avoided that fate. However, a shockwave of electricity raced across the floor, which he barely managed to leap over. Naruto looked over at the giant chew, as it moved towards him again, but this time, that electrical aura faded away. He rushed at it, trying to cut at it, but he only managed to make slices, which then heal up fast. He gets blasted back by a forceful tackle by the chew, and his back slams against the locked door. Damn, that hurt. He yelped as the thing jumped towards him again, and he managed to avoid the collision, but got shocked from the aftershock of the wave. Naruto, what about that thing you got? Midna spoke to him. Naruto opened his eyes once his body regained mobility, and ran back as the chew slowly rebuilt its electrical aura. The vacuum gust. He lifted it up, and focused some chakra into it, before pulling the trigger. The fan began spinning, drawing in air, as the vents allowed excess heat to escape. Well, that didn't work, as it had jumped at him again. Duck, dodge shockwave, it lost its aura this time, and he pointed at it again. This time, he saw it had an effect. The thick pillar of slime began to whittle away until eventually, the thing was top-heavy and began to wobble back and forth, trying desperately to stay upright. Naruto jumped back as it wobbled at him and its heavy weight sent it crashing to the ground. Naruto jumped at it and stabbed the blade right into it. The thing let out a reverberating growl crossed with a drowning scream. The boy rips the blade upward, sending slime flying, before it regrew more slime and stood back up again. This time, it pumped downward, generating thicker mass towards its column and the tentacle-like feet. That's how you get rid of it. The chew generated its electrical field once again. Damn, this is going to be long. The thing spat out several globs of blue juice at Naruto, which then formed into several jellies, but some became miniature versions of the giant chew complete with electric aura. He swung immediately, but Midna felt a buzz while Naruto was electrified for striking the blue chew. A blue chew jelly leapt into the air and smashed onto his back. Thankfully, the shield was all it struck. Still, it did hurt hitting the floor face first. He managed to jump back to his feet and release the Kaitenjiri, shredding through several chews that jumped at him. The rest got reabsorbed when Naruto dodged the slam from the giant chew and shockwave. Damn! He produced needle bombs, and flung them. The explosions only caused it to jiggle, before jumping at him. He got crushed this time, and a cry of pain echoes through. It jumps again, but Midna emerged, and saved him by flinging him out of harm's way. Naruto rolled as Midna dodged the attack herself. Getting to his knees, he held out the vacuum gust, and began to suck away at the support column of the beast. Midna flies next to him, as the thing lost its support and collapsed. Once more, Naruto lays down a series of sword attacks, before the last stab, send him flying back from an electrical buzz. It regained more mass once again, and this time its mass thickened even further. Damn it! Naruto cursed in thought. Naruto once again brought the shield up, blocking a bolt of lightning the giant chew fired from its slime-like mass. He jumped away as it leapt up into the air to try and smash down on him, and jumped yet again to dodge the ground shockwave of electricity. He began sucking away at the slime when the aura dissipated, dodging any chew monsters it summoned. Before long, it crashes as its main support topples the top-heavy beast, and he wails at it with the Master Sword, until the creature let out a death moan, and explodes, coating the entire room in jelly. Naruto and Midna both were flat against the wall from the initial explosion, covered in the slimy gunk. Oh, gross, Midna moaned. The iron gates recede, allowing them to exit, while another treasure chest emerged next to the first one. Naruto walked over to it, and opened it, finding himself another small key. Pocketing the key, Midna follows Naruto back to the door, as they return to the previous room, but this time walk across the chasm, to the other door which they unlock and go through. In this room, there's an overgrowth of crystals, and a small yet large pool of water in the center of the room. However, the room itself is 2 stories high. There are various cliffside for foot platforms, and there were ice keys, which was a surprise to Naruto, and skimming on the water heading to him were red and blue hoppers. Naruto easily took them out. Naruto decided to get a good look around. The overgrowth of crystals spanned a large crystalline-like surface along the wall before him, which branched off toward the right onto the first large cliffside, which contained a treasure chest. He saw several points where he could safely climb via jumping with the aid of the chakra grapples. His shadow shifted, before Midna emerged. Naruto, you see that crystal there? If we had iron boots, or any sort of conductive metal, you can then get a magnetic grip and walk along the wall. Well, I am a ninja and ninjas can run up walls and stuff, yet I haven't really gotten the chance of learning the tree walk exercise. Well, better figure out a way then, Naruto-kun. With that, she disappears back into his shadow. Shit. I think I'd rather get through the non-chakra ninja way. He walked towards the center, looking around for another way to get to that ledge, when he spotted something in the water. He ran to it, and picked up what looked like sheets of metal. Once again, Midna emerged. Midna, can you use your magic to cut these? Ah, I see, take off your boots. He nodded, and walked out of the pond, and took them off. Midna, instead of cutting, took the two small sheets of metal and managed to use her magic to fuse the metal to the soles of the boots. It took about a minute, but Midna managed to perform the task. Naruto received back his boots, which the soles now have conductive metal inside. Naruto slipped his feet back into the boots and walked around. They felt a bit weighed down, but nothing too movement constricting. He walked over to the crystal, nothing. Wah! He blinked twice, before he decides to flare out some of his chakra. Suddenly he felt weighted down to the crystal, and saw some sparks arcing around the soles of his boots. He cut of the chakra, and the energy pull disappeared. He did it again, and this time he stuck to the crystal. He grinned, as he walked up the wall carefully, and maneuvered over the cliffside. Cutting off the chakra, he was no longer sticking to the growth of smooth crystal, and fell. Granted, he flipped to land on his feet, but he was now next to the chest, which he opened. Inside the living room, Cher walked in, and saw Fox had a perverted dojin in his hands. She walked over, and Cher grabbed the dojin entitled Honey and Sweet from her brother's hands. "Hey, Fox, they're back." Fox got up off the couch, and looked down the hall as the ninjas formed the Leaf returned, unsuccessful in their search for their missing partner. "So, were you able to find Naruto-san?" "No, he's still missing," said Enko. Cher walked over, with a tray of cups and a pitcher of tea. "While you were gone, we took a look at the island. Storm clouds now gathered around it, yet there is no rain. It's like something evil was emerging. And somehow, the little Gaki is tied in with all of this weird bullcrap," Enko thought, accepting the tea from Cher. The stalagmite cracked and fell to the ground after Naruto swung onto the next wall platform. He sighed in relief. That was a close call. He looked around again. He was only 3 platforms from the roof. Looking at the map using the compass, he was nowhere near the supposed location of the boss. In fact, from where he was about 7 rooms away, and he was going in the opposite direction. Damn! However, there are 2 doors in the room he was currently in. The door that would take him to the supposed boss location was above him, but the door had no ledge. Then, the door before him across the wide gap had a door under a wall ledge. This room led to a dead end, but there's a chest laying in wait inside that room. Right now, he could not afford to pass any of these chests. Like in the Temple of Lightning, the door had a giant lock, and he had to use this large key in order to open it. He knew that the same situation occurs in this temple/dungeon. He took out the grapples once again, and released the whips, latching around one stalagmite, and swings across the wide gap. Once there, through the door he finds himself in a room with currently rubble burying the short hallway. With the mole gauntlets, he digs his way through the mound of hard dirt, soon breaks out the other side, and falls through a breakaway floor. Chapter 29. Luring him into your so-called trap will not work. The little imp will just warp him away, spoke Kumo. But he turned around, as Amachi was snarling at him, trying to break free. However, a power that you demand comes with a price. Do you really think that Leader Sama would even want to add you to his forces? Ha! Foolish little demon. He smiled behind his helmet, and his eyes begin to glow. He looked down upon the screen, and with a little camera, sees the boy stirring. The tunnel he was in would lead directly to here, that is, if he can remain conscious. Naruto groaned, as he slowly stood back up, and picked up the fallen gauntlets. The hell? He peers up. He saw the hole that he fell into, but could barely make out the ceiling from the darkened space. Great! Naruto, are you alright? Midna emerged from his shadow. I'm fine. Took a hard fall. He got up and looked around, before he heard what sounded like white water. Then they both got flushed down the tunnel by a surge of rushing water. Naruto and Midna lost consciousness as they got banged and trashed when they got swept into a tunnel. Eventually, Naruto awakens, but finds himself in a prison, with the girl Amachi kidnapped. He heard chuckling, and sees Darknut Kumo standing there, and in a prison himself was Amachi, but the man was mutated into a demonic form. Ah, so you awaken. What the hell? Naruto groaned, finding himself shackled and his weapons on a table. He only had his sword since he guessed repelled the dark energies of evil. Amachi did dwell, but Leader Sama thought that he was taking it too slow, so I'm here to speed the process. What process? Where's Isaribi? Naruto. He looked to his right and saw Isaribi trapped in her own prison. The girl is fine, though she will forever be classified a freak due to her Zora traits. The snake man fused into her DNA, Darknut Kumo chuckled. And Darknut Kumo began to gather all the twilight and the magic that warped this place. Outside, the island's appearance was slowly reverting back to normal, and inside, the dark dungeon-like lab returned to an underground lab, and all the dark energies were pooling and being absorbed into the demonic fish creature. You think you can escape in time, even if you did, you will never be able to destroy Amachi now. Kyumo smiled at Naruto before vanishing, leaving him and the shackled Twilight Princess to watch as someone who was once human now turned into that of a true demon. His form shatters the glass tube and he only continued to grow larger. Midna felt magical ward shatter as Amachi's size increased. She managed to tap into her magic, and warped the three of them to a safer distance, along with Naruto's weapons, but only to the door, since there were other wards that were suddenly around the room. They ran out of the room, as the demon was easily crushing through the hard stone and metal. Up and up they continued, soon reaching another expansive room. Midna, get Isaribi out of here then come back. I got a demon to slay. Naruto, wait a minute. She yelled but watched as Naruto dove off the inner cliff towards the demon that was escaping. Off to an island of its coast, the townsfolk were shocked to seeing the island transform from a demonic form back to the normal island they feared. From the island, a loud demonic roar broke the air as rock explodes from the top, and out poked a demonic Amachi. More of the island's side shatters and breaks away as a large sea monster emerged, and slowly swam. However, all they saw was what looked like a rocky island with waving tentacles. On it was Naruto, attacking the tentacles that apparently caused it to roar in pain. Even so, they would regrow once again when they were hacked off. That is, until he spotted something very interesting. One of the waving tentacles had some sort of growth moving from inside the see-through tentacle. He threw a kunai at it, and it pierced the heart-looking organ, causing a more painful screech to emerge. The entire rocky island mass shook violently, forcing Naruto off his feet. The rest of it emerged. His head was a fusion of his fish-like features and that of a bird's curved beak with a dragonic head. The eyes were pupilless, glowing red, except for its third yellow eye which was large, with a slitted red pupil, and appears bloodshot with the blood veins black. It had a mane of white fur-like hair trailing along the back and sides, and along the neck was the spine of a fish running clear down the spine until it reached to where the long slender neck poked out from. The body was that of a lobster's shell. The lower body was 4 spine flippers, and it had a thick but short tail with a spiked fish fin. Alright you piece of shit, come at me. Naruto yells, just as the demonic creature roared and its head dives right at him. The shore was caressed by the waves, and there was still a search going on. 2 hours ago, a fierce battle emerged, which even somehow affected the weather, generating a powerful storm. But as soon as the creature died, the storm slowly tapered off. But Naruto was nowhere to be found. That is, until a little girl shouted for help, and other search parties ran, and found a sword, a shield, and a boy clad in a green tunic. Naruto was still out of it, and Enko thought it was best to bring Naruto back to the village for better treatment. Thankfully, Enko and the team knew of Midna, so she was able to warp them to Konoha faster. Once of course they had left the village, Isaribi going with them to find a better home, and hopefully get cured by Lady Tsunade. Ever since the incident in Umi a month back, things have once again calmed down. Isaribi was rescued, but Amachi perished by Naruto's sword. The girl was brought back to Konoha, where she was going under Tsunade's treatment, to at least hopefully reverse whatever Orochimaru has done to the poor girl. But the day today would soon be interrupted. Do it, said Lansing, who smiled wickedly. His infantry raised their arrows, all with bombs attached. They released the strings, and the bomb arrows whizzed through the air. The village was rudely interrupted of their midday doings by ringing explosions. Lansing cackled and vanished, as Kyumo orders the Dark Army to attack. On the other side of the village outside the walls, black fires were present, as the small army here was incinerated. If there was a survivor, it would have seen the gaze of red eyes, and a gleaming silver blade of a katana. It was not Orochimaru, or any other enemy villages that was attacking Konoha once word spread forth. It was the Twilight King, and he brought with him the low level of dark shadow creatures he could materialize with his power. Instantly, the village, on red alert, went to combat against these creatures, while all others were to lead the civilians to safety. In another area of the village, Naruto was taking out Kargaroks that swooped down from the air, dropping bombs or attacking fleeing people. He was not alone. Temari and Tenten were there as well. Girls, go and help anyone nearby. Naruto yelled, and then sprinted off without giving them a chance to respond. Just as Naruto turned the corner, He had jumped back just as a sword nearly pierced him in the chest. Stepping from view was Darknut Kyumo. Well, what do we have here, a wandering hero? Naruto just knew the man behind the mask was grinning. Naruto was glad he remained armed today, as he drags out his sword and shield. Kyumo however chuckled, and vanished in a bolt of lightning. Confused, Naruto turned around, only to see a mirror image of him, from a tinted gray mirror surrounded by a hellish woodwork that was a dark purple with hints of red and orange. The mirror image of him suddenly sneered, freaking Naruto out as he backed away. The mirror shattered as soon as his duplicate stepped into the real world. The clone was complete down to the last detail, however the colors had been changed to tones of gray and black. The eyes had no pupils, glowed a fierce red instead, the skin tone was a dark gray to near coal black, and the hair color now 40% gray instead of sun-kissed blonde. And Naruto knew that whatever trickery this was, he wasn't going to survive without a fight. As he prepared himself, so did his shadow. Naruto! No! He yelled, knowing it was Tenten and Temari who had come to help him. Go help the others. Dark Naruto gained a bloodthirsty smile, and spoke with a dark tone. Die! Dark Shadow Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto brought his sword up to block the overhead chop from the dark counterpart, before leaping back as he released into a side swing. Naruto! I said get! Save those who need rescue! He shouted, and uses the strength in his legs to backflip several times from the repeated slashes by Dark Naruto. Come on panda girl, Temari said, and rushed off. Tenten followed but not without giving Naruto one last look. Naruto caught the emotion in her eyes, and gave her a soft smile. She was then off, chasing after Temari. They shot towards one another with quick feet, blades poised, and then a blinding flash of light erupted when they collided in the center. Blades clashed, the two swordsmen trying to bypass the other's defense. Each time the blades clashed, sparks would fly. They kicked away only to end up in another stalemate. Dark Naruto suddenly swept his leg, tripping Naruto, who rolled to dodge the stab and tripped Dark Naruto, whom evaded a forward thrust and downward slash attack. Naruto kicked Dark Naruto across the skull whilst kicking back into a spiral. Dark Naruto got back up and clenched his fist. An aura of malice springs forth, creating a blade made almost like that of black fire. Armed with two swords of a different nature, he charged and unleashed a kinetic energy wave with a blast of flames arcing out like shockwaves. Naruto rolled to the side to evade the attack, and charged rapidly, slashing with his blade. Dark Naruto was blocking most of the strikes with the physical blade, and then slashed across the light teen's chest. He seemed to have Shunshin away, reappearing behind to lunge, but was caught and sent into an arm drag. Dark Naruto Shunshin before he could be struck down. He reappeared overhead, and with a battle cry called forth magic. Naruto dashed to avoid getting impaled by large spikes of ice that shatter a few seconds after drilling into the ground a couple inches. Dark Naruto then dropped like a stone block, generating a shockwave of kinetic energy that knocked the light teen off guard, who then quickly recovered. Can't say the same with the surroundings, getting property damage. Their blades clashed soon after. Dark Naruto locked in a stalemate. Naruto however proved to be quicker as he tripped the dark teenager with a sweep of his leg, and with the sword released a Kaze Kiwa, wind edge. The ending factor of this grueling battle, which dragged on for another 4 minutes, was the finishing blow of Morigari no Kanketsusen, uprush of the geyser. The darkness that was him roared with a near alien-like tone. Naruto swore and ran for cover behind a discarded fruit stand, before the darkness exploded into a black haze. The shockwave that was emitted shattered glass within the short vicinity, before the dark haze evaporated into nothingness. Dark Naruto is defeated. Damn! He panted. As Naruto gathered himself in the empty streets from his rough fight, weapons put away, he heard the sound of one man's applause echoing from all around. Stepping forth from Twilight was Lansing. And he was smiling, as well as a madman could. He was sporting a few battle wounds, and Naruto felt another battle commencing. Chapter 30. Well, excellent, Naruto. I guess you are the hero, if you can defeat your own shadow. Be careful, Naruto. Midna told Naruto. I know. I have you near me, Midna-chan, he replied softly. Everyone had long since abandoned the civilian heavy areas once the explosion went off. As standard procedures, when a village is under attack, all civilians must retreat to underground bunkers near the mountain, and in this portion of the village, it was just the king and the hero. He floated off the ground before an evil sneer formed on his lips and a wicked gleam appeared in his eyes. "Time to face me, hero." He suddenly thrusted his palm out and fired a few energy blasts. Naruto had ducked to the side behind a nearby empty dumpster. Lansing cackled as he floated of the ground briefly before expelling his aura, while Naruto swung back into the open, on guard and sword/shield deployed. Twilight King Lansing. Naruto backflips away before Lansing suddenly propels himself up into the air at a higher distance, and was lit in the red/black aura. Suddenly he rockets forth, smashing into Naruto and sending him crashing into a deserted house. Naruto got out of the way as Lansing sent a ball of glowing energy, and it caused the house to blow up. Naruto swore as he dragged the blade, and swung, releasing the Shigekiha Jutsu. Lansing came back at him again using his flying trick, cackling as he thrusts his right fist, and sending a fist-shaped blast of red energy. Naruto blocked that attack with his shield, before lunging at Lansing and swinging. The Twilight King cried out in pain as Naruto unleashed more slashes at the stunned Twilight, before he managed to get his wits together and warp away. Reappearing, he jumped into the air, and held his hand out open before him. 3 concussive blasts explode from his hand, but Naruto blocked them with the shield. However, the blasts did push him back with 3 loud clangs. As he braced himself for another attack, Naruto was given the shock of a lifetime when Uchiha Itachi suddenly appeared and swung his katana in a full revolution, forcing Lansing to warp to a safer distance. Naruto stared as Itachi now came after Lansing, and Lansing was forced to go on the defense. "I saw you, Madara, or should I say, Twilight King. I always knew that alter ego you call Toby was nothing but a false mask. How could Toby, even if childish, die so easily? You faked your own death so you can execute whatever plans you plotted, and what are you going to do about it, Itachi? I knew the truth of what you did to your own family, but leaving your brother alive. He's warped, just like the rest of you Uchihas, and that is why I had to kill every single one of them." He swung, and unleashed the black flames, but Lansing warped, and struck Itachi in the gut, launching him back into Naruto's feet. Naruto rushed over, and helped the S-rank nuke Nin up. As he did so, Itachi slipped an item into Naruto's pack. Naruto noticed but gave no indication to it. Amusing this scene is, the Kinslayer and the hero, working together as a truce? Oh, now what would that fool Pain think of this? A sinister smile appeared. He knows. He too held a suspicion. "Which is why I'm here in my own village again, the rest of your dark armies burning under black flames, before I came here." Lansing grinned. "But each time you use that particular jutsu, your eyesight gets weaker and weaker, not unless you devour the eyes of another Uchiha Dojutsu, one of your blood of kin." Itachi said nothing, but merely glanced at the former Kyubi Jinchuriki. "Naruto." Naruto prepared the master sword, and stood next to Itachi. Lansing laughed quite evilly, as several ninjas led by Kakashi appeared on the rooftops of the immediate area. "Itachi?" Kakashi questioned, confused as to why he was here. Enko, Asuma, and Kurenai were all confused as well. "Well then, come meet your death, gentlemen," he roars, as his glowing hands were brought high, and then began to rain bolts at them. Raitun, Raijin Hiki, lightning release, lightning encampment wall. Itachi displayed just how he was the best former Konohanin there ever was as far as his dead clan concerned by forming a webbing of electricity that shielded them, which also with a formed truce dashed out of the danger zone. Itachi comes at Lansing's left and swung his katana, slicing a gash across his side. He shifted through hand signs, and expelled a katan, Karyudan no Jutsu. Lansing screamed in pain before warping out of the way, and reappearing once again. Naruto puts the sword and shield away, and brings out the claw shots. He fires one, but Lansing dodged and came at him almost instantly, but Itachi sent him flying with a blast of Suryudan. Naruto took aim with the other claw shot, grappled Lansing, and reeled him back. Itachi sprinted up and swung a full revolution, cutting into the evil man, who suddenly appeared and stabbed his right hand through Itachi's back. Itachi in response exploded into crows that flew into the air. In this moment of confusion, Naruto had spin up close, the blade cutting into the king, and Itachi came from behind, and stabs the man in the back. Both are blasted away when a bigger aura surged around him. Both looked up as the master sword was ejected from his body by the blast of energy the man was releasing, but Itachi's sword shattered like glass. Lansing then exploded into Twilight. It was a clone. The real Lansing appeared and was about to strike Itachi, but the ground expelled two hands that flew at him. Tatagami Hando, Lion Hand. Lansing was caught up in the attack. Itachi did not bother to use Tsukuyomi, because he knew that this man had the eyes of an Uchiha. Even if its dojutsu is rendered useless, it was the perfect shield against a dojutsu attack. This was the scene that Tsunade and her ninjas came across as Lansing drops down before them, facing off not only Naruto, but the S-class nuke Nin Itachi. Naruto jumped next to Itachi, and the man finally sheds off his Akatsuki cloak, revealing that underneath he wore his old Anbu outfit. Itachi shifted his hand through the series of hand signs, before he brought his right hand up before him. A ball of flame grew within his palm before exploding and engulfing his hand in a fiery aura. Naruto rushed forward and swung, but Lansing dodged the attack, and flew at Itachi. He leapt into the air, but Itachi was faster when he saw the spark of energy rush from the evil man's hands. He performed an uppercut motion, and the trail of fire followed his path as he smashed right into the jaw of the king. Naruto leapt into the air and unleashed the spin attack. Lansing released a loud cry before he warped, just as the spot he once was got blasted by a pit of black flames of his Manjikyu. The Konoha ninja had jumped to a safe distance, but Itachi gave no attention to them, but Lansing as he released the Hausenka technique. He shielded himself from the jutsu, but was caught off guard by Naruto as he slashed at his back. Lansing though in pain emerged behind and held Itachi under the same magical hold he once had on Naruto. Itachi however escaped by appearing elsewhere as the other Itachi exploded into feathers. Doton, Doryuden. The mud dragon, though with some hardened earth, exploded from the ground before Itachi, and riding on top of it somehow, was Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto did a somersault and the mud dragon smashes into Lansing, and Naruto came down with a finishing blow, but all he managed to slash was a gash across the man's chest before a swirl of energy knocked him back. Itachi however came up at him, and proceeded to blast him point blank with his Amaterasu. Though, having pushed his limit, gave Lansing the perfect opening to finally grapple the Uchiha, Itachi. But Lansing wouldn't have it, as he grapples Naruto with his magic and throws him back, allowing the boy to crash through the show window of a local bakery. When I had Naruto in this hold the first time, I had thought I had killed him, yet he survived, no doubt due to the Triforce. He hissed into the man's ear, then he switched to his native tongue. You, Itachi, should know never to mess with me. As for those demons you and the Akatsuki are searching for, you fools are only helping me along, however, you shall not live to tell them. Itachi grunted, before he felt the hand gripping his skull increase in pressure. Then, Lansing crushed his skull. In the black flames that still burned from the earlier jutsu attack, he threw Itachi's body into the black fire, and let it burn his body into unrecognizable ashes. Yes, Uchiha Itachi was killed, by the Twilight King. One pawn down, so many more to go, wouldn't you agree? He looked to his audience, but then turned to Naruto who had climbed out of the building, and looked up at him, his eyes showing no hesitation in continuing this fight. Naruto got up, and grabbed the sword lying near him, and dodged the attack by Lansing. He came at him, but when Naruto thrusted a Rasengan at him, he suddenly hops to his right a fair distance and flew at him. If not for the sword brought up to block, he would have been struck. Lansing as he warped a distance away again snickered and jumped into the air, performed a lazy backward flip, and then shot at him like a meteor. Naruto cried out in pain as he was sent crashing into a wooden electric pole. Lansing cackles before he brought his hand out, and fires several bolts of energy at Naruto. With pain, he dodged and with Kagura in hand, sent some cutters. Naruto forced him to teleport away when he released Fujin no Mai. Lansing warped near, enough to execute a shield of red energy that came with explosive detonation when the king slammed his fist into the ground. Naruto backed away and flung a bomb. Lansing jumped to the side and comes flying at him, avoiding the small explosion. Naruto swung, and Lansing blocked the attack before sending a glowing kick at him. He dodged and swung the fan, as a giant cutter this time slashed across Lansing's torso. He growled and jumped into the air. Naruto sprinted to the side as he came flying down, and smashed into another house which exploded. Naruto puts the fan away, replacing it with the chakra grapple. As Lansing leapt from the burning wreckage, Naruto now wielded the whip as he sent a slash at the man, catching him off guard. He warped behind Naruto and flew at him, but Naruto barely dodged the fist, and spun the weapon, catching him across the face with a painful sting. Naruto lashed out with an axe kick before grappling him around the neck. Choking, Naruto with all his strength swung him around and around and around before releasing the grapple. Lansing's forward momentum sent him crashing into the same pole he himself has slammed into earlier. However, he was near another weapons shop. Lansing, when he regained his wits, screamed as he willed his magic into the kunai rack displayed in the window. They glowed with red-orange lines and flew at him. Naruto performed a matrix maneuver to dodge, but that left him open to a side fist strike, before a kick sends him into the air, and was immediately introduced with a hammer blow back into the ground. Lansing glowed more brightly before shooting down. All that Lansing struck was his own crater. Naruto had used Kawarimi and Kage Bunshin to escape what could have been a fatal hit. Now more Kage Bunshin came into existence to overwhelm the man, but they all poofed into smoke when he released an explosion of magic to ripple around him briefly. Naruto took the initiative to attack, swinging the sword left, right, backflips and thrusts the glowing sword, releasing the Kaze Kiwa technique. Lansing snarled, and jumped away to dodge another bomb, and came at him, but dodges the whip. Naruto spun on his heel, releasing needle bombs. He cried out with hate as the boy was now starting to get the edge on him. He flew off, and Naruto ran after him. Tsunade commandeered her shinobi to continue following, but then a bolt of lightning emerged, and in stepped Darknut Kyumo. "Your battle is with me," Kyumo sneers, and attacks the ninjas and the Hokage. Lansing had brought him to an open clearing of some training grounds. Lansing, with more room, cackled as he expelled several bolts of energy from his hands as several beams of wood shot down from the sky suddenly, and encloses the large battlefield. Naruto dropped to the floor as they nearly hit him, and rolled when Lansing pointed his hands down. He flew at Naruto, but Naruto, who had been charging energy into the blade, released another Kaze Kiwa. With that successful hit, Naruto unleashed another assault with the Master Sword before Lansing teleported away and to a safer distance. He was through playing around. He rips off his mask, and glared with both of his red eyes, spittle flying from the raged scream coming from him. Yes, he may have warped Madara's body for his own needs, but he still had the man's very own face. He gathered a ball of energy into his hands, and then launched it. Naruto uttered an "oh shit" before the explosion sent him flying back, sword knocked out of hand and flying into the nearby river that was dangerously close to the Twilight barrier. Lansing smiled with madness in his red eyes, and came down upon him with his meteor blitzkrieg. Naruto's eyes widened before he did the Kage Bunshin switch. The shockwave that emanated from the blast zone however caught Naruto. Lansing slowly got back up as the raging aura faded away, and he jumped into the air before flying at Naruto. He warped when Naruto swung with the Kubikiri Hocho. Lansing glared, but unleashed a rain of plasma bolts, which Naruto blocked using the broadsword. Flying at him again, he was caught off guard when Naruto used his Reisengyufu jutsu. With multiple cuts dug into him, Naruto attacked with the larger sword, succeeding 3 strikes before Lansing growled and backflips away. Naruto took this chance, and ended this duel with a series of sword movements, ending with an upward slash attack that sent him into the air before crashing to the earth once again. He got up, and glared. "You may have weakened me, but mark my words, boy." He was silenced when Naruto had appeared before him, and slammed a Rasengan into the Twilight King's stomach. He was sent flying back, with a spiral burn mark made into his stomach. With Tsunade, Kyumo got back up from the strong hit he received from the strong woman, until he felt something within him stir. He vanishes in a blast of lightning, only to nearly hit Naruto had he not jumped back. Kyumo appeared, and then rushed to his master as the barrier shatters. "I am weak, get me away." Kyumo turned to glare at Naruto. "You will pay, hero." A bolt of lightning, and Kyumo and Lansing vanished. No more attacks, no more battle. Naruto had, for now, defeated the Twilight King, but he knew that he would return. In the process, he had lost what he could call an ally at the last moment, Uchiha Itachi. At that same moment, what survivors of the Dark Army begin to escape, vanishing the same way they came into this world. Naruto-kun. Midna appeared next to him, holding him though she was a shadow due to the unknown ninja that followed Tsunade, and in proxy, the fight. "Sore, yes, but I'll be fine." He reached into his pack, and took out what Itachi had slipped onto his person. On the scroll was the kanji for Adamant Moon Cut. Both Hero and Twilight Princess looked at the scroll, wondering why the man, who was supposed to be evil and cold-hearted, would leave Naruto such a scroll. He places it away just as he collapses, and the last thing he heard was the worried voice of Tsunade. Tsunade and Kakashi were the first people to have found Naruto. Shinobi were now on extra security detail, while Naruto was in the hospital, now getting treated for his injuries of taking on Lansing head-on, and beforehand, his own dark shadow. While foolish of him to do so, the hero had in essence defended himself and everyone else while the evacuation was in order. While it had been a mystery as to why Itachi appeared in the village, and teamed with Naruto to fight against a common enemy, it was known for sure that Itachi had been murdered by the Twilight King. And while Naruto's girls all yelled at him for gambling his life in that fight, they all were glad he was alright. Of course, that was 3 hours ago. While Tenten and Temari stayed behind to care for Naruto, Hinata, Tenten, and Kin were preparing a good dinner for them all to share. Yes, they were back at his apartment. He had his eyes closed, and just resting after what was a near life/death situation between two tough battles he got himself in. Naruto-kun. Naruto opened his eyes, and noticed all of his girls wore maid outfits meant for adults. Even Midna wore a maid outfit, and had allowed her hair out of its signature ponytail plus no headgear, so he saw both of her sunset-colored eyes he liked so much. Dear Diary. Jackpot. Chapter 31, Final Chapter. I always knew Mother was unhappy with her marriage. Fugaku was always a bit of a control freak. I had heard that my mother survived the massacre I had unleashed, and for that, I am glad she had moved on, and did the right thing by sealing off the part of her bloodline that would give birth to more Sharingan. Naruto, I was Anbu Weasel and one of the few who protected you when you were so young. My mother wished to protect you as well, but could not because of Fugaku. Naruto, I knew that I was going to die anyway. Only you will know that my intention of killing my own clan is to prevent my father from bringing forth the next advent of Madara, the very same man who now is dead, and his body stolen by your own enemy. Since the days of the Nidaime, and from what I have known since my birth and raising, they had planned to destroy Konoha, control it under their name and blood. I have always remained loyal to Konoha to allow her to die under the fires of my kin, so I had nipped the bud before the deadly flower can blossom. The only other person who knew was the Sandaime. He had given me the mission, and I accepted it. Naruto, this scroll is one of my own kenjutsu techniques, of which I had used against my own clan. Learn it, perfect it, and protect those you love. My brother Sasuke will never get his chance of killing me, but he will be too corrupted by power. If he cannot change his ways, then please, for the sake of my memory, for my mother who lives a new peaceful life, kill Sasuke. Beware of Kisame, for he will do anything to kill you to obtain the Kubikiri Hocho. If you are truly a destined hero, then show the world the power you wield to defend of innocent. And tell my mother that I still love her. Uchiha Itachi. Naruto noticed a few teardrop stains in the letter, but he folded it, as he himself felt a bit sad from reading the letter. Now, Naruto truly knew dark secrets that no one would know. Itachi's reason for killing his own clan was because they had planned a coup to destroy Konoha and rule it under their name and blood. And for the good of the village, it was the best choice. To prevent a disease from spreading, kill the infection before it roots itself into the host. Sarutobi Jiji died, taking that dark secret to his grave, so did Itachi, leaving him the third and final person to know the truth, fourth counting Midna, who also read it through his eyes. He made a choice there and then that this secret shall never leave. So, to make sure no one ever found out, he burned the letter and mixed its ash with the pot of dirt he had growing a small bush of roses near the window of his bedroom. I'll learn this technique, and then destroy it as well. He grabbed the master sword, and left to train. The village was recovering, and missions taken helped boost the Ryo it needed to repair the more heavily hit areas from the Dark Army invasion. Naruto and his friends all did what they could to help, until a month later that he made a request that shocked everybody. Go on a 3-year training mission by himself. At first Tsunade denied such an action, until he pointed out that with Itachi's death, the Akatsuki would think that it was him who had killed him and would double their efforts to capture him just to kill him because, even if he's no longer the holder of the Kyuubi, they would still see him as a dangerous chess piece that must be taken out. It took 3 days for Tsunade to finally allow Naruto this chance that not many genin would ever get. In those 3 days and the following month, Naruto had successfully mastered the scroll of Itachi's only kenjutsu technique. It was night on the coming 4th day, when Naruto snuck out of the house, and toward the gates. The 2 guards at the gate saw Naruto leave the village on Epona, but they knew that their Hokage granted Naruto a 3-year leave on a training regimen. Hey! Izumo? Yes, Naruto. Izumo spoke. If anyone wonders where I have gone, tell them I won't be found in this continent. I'll be traveling far west. Now playing, the hero of time, Uzumaki Naruto. He then snaps on the reins, and Epona whinnies as she gallops at a high speed away from the village with Izumo and Kotetsu watching until Naruto disappeared from their sight. The two men only looked at one another and chuckle. Naruto has changed a lot. They took the paths that would lead to the main road, and then head west towards Matsu no Kuni. Sitting in front of him was Midna, smiling as she too enjoyed the ride. You sure you want to do this? Leave without hearing goodbye? Yes, I'm sure, Midna. They'll all understand. She nodded and leaned back against Naruto as Epona continued to gallop, breaking past the tree lines and soon across the grassy fields. They find a dirt road and soon travels west down its path. As the sun slowly began to rise, thus greeting the world another beautiful day, Uzumaki Naruto and Midna traveled far away from the village. In the homes of his friends and people he considered precious to him, they would find a note with only these words: "See you in 3 years." Naruto wore a face of determination, as did Midna. The two were in this adventure together, and Epona as well. They continue without break. Father, they were going away from Konohagakure no Sato. It will be 3 years until Naruto returned back home, but until that time, friends, and those considered family to Naruto will have to await this return. But 3 years is a long time, as would be the changes 3 years can bring. Elsewhere in the world, Kururi smiled to herself. With a bit of her magic, it was only possible for Midna to even remain impervious to the poisonous effects the world of light had on a Twilight citizen such as the recursed Twilight Princess. Of course, how she managed it was during the mission to Kaminari no Kuni. One night as Naruto and Midna slept, she concentrated on her magic, and bonded the two as one. The world needs their hero, Naruto. That's it for part 6. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.